Chapter 5781. Chapter 5781. Long Fei's eyes turned cold. The appearance of the spacetime channel made him feel a sense of crisis. At his level, he is extremely sensitive to certain crises. At this moment, he already figured it out in his heart. This is someone passing through the spacetime tunnel, trying to travel through time and space to kill him. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of him. That is Long Batian. When he was in Longting before, Long Batian used this kind of power, so now there is and only this possibility. As expected. The moment his mind just fell, a figure walked out from the spacetime tunnel. It was Long Batian. Long Batian, you still have a wicked heart, so you want to compete with me so much? Long Fei asked. He was already upset in his heart, and seeing Long Batian appearing at this time was even more upset. He thought that Long Batian had given up, not to mention the relationship between the sea, but as far as the relationship between the two of them was concerned, he felt that the things in the past could be let go. But I didn't expect Long Batian to be so ruthless. Even if he traveled through time and space, he wanted to kill himself. I did give up, but unfortunately, you are no longer who you used to be. Long Batian said. Is your head showing off? Am I not me? Who am I? My tender father? Long Fei laughed back angrily. What a joke. This argument is too ridiculous. He naturally knows in his heart whether he has changed from before. The authorities are obsessed. If I didn't know something, I wouldn't bother to pay attention to what happened back then. After all, you and I were brought out by the sea. To a certain extent, I am your senior brother. But it's a pity that many things will have a perfect answer after you die. Long Batian said coldly. Brother, you're paralyzed, I'm dead? What if I die, even if this world is infinitely beautiful? Without my existence, this world is meaningless to me. Long Fei's eyes were full of anger. Long Batian's words made him very upset. There is a perfect answer to what it means to be dead. Why? Some things I can't tell you for some reason, but that's the truth. So you are going to die. Long Batian continued. Long Fei sneered. Hehe, if it's true as you said, then I don't mind ending everything with my own hands. After finishing speaking, he turned his gaze. Let the people inside come out, I want to see what kind of power you have prepared to kill me. Long Fei said. The next moment, figures came out from the spacetime passage. The 100-person team just appeared in front of Long Fei. Long Fei shrunk, with murderous intent raging in his heart. 100 unique. This battle was to punish himself to death, and he never thought of giving himself a way out. It seems that you are determined to keep me here. Long Fei said coldly. Beg for mercy? Admit. Impossible. He hadn't done this kind of thing back then, and he wouldn't do it today either. Yes, it's good for everyone if you die, so why don't you die? Long Batian remained expressionless. After finishing speaking, he turned his eyes and looked behind him. Everyone, let's take action. As long as he is dead, I will definitely do what I promised you. As soon as the voice fell, his figure suddenly disappeared. Immediately afterwards, he reappeared, already in front of Long Fei. At the same time, he punched out. Long Fei had no expression on his face, as if he had already expected that the moment the punch landed, he would strike with a bang. Also merciless. This punch was the power given by the system after he broke through to the only realm. The only punch. But Long Fei had never used this power. It is so powerful that one punch is enough to collapse the world. But at this time, he didn't hesitate. Before life and death, there was nothing to consider. Let alone the collapse of the world, even if the universe was destroyed, he would still fight. He never gives up. Life and death are indifferent. If you don't accept it, you will do it. Even if there are 100 uniques, he is not afraid. Rumble. The power of the two collided, and the violent power destroyed the world. The world that had just stabilized showed signs of collapse at this moment. The sky split open, and countless lights and shadows fell down. A sky fire descended from the sky, carrying the aura of destroying everything, scorching the entire land. And the figures of Long Fei and Long Batian also touch points. Each retreated hundreds of feet. But Long Baishan's face was full of shock at this time. Just one punch at this time made him feel the strength of Long Fei. That kind of power overwhelmed the heavens and the earth, absolutely berserk, seemed to have surpassed the heavens, and no power could stop it. Long Fei was expressionless. Long Batian was shocked by his strength. He was also shocked by the power of Long Batian. With one punch, he had a preliminary understanding of Long Baishan's power. Long Fei, I didn't expect that you have reached this level now. Compared with the last time we met, your strength has improved a lot. Long Batian said leisurely, with a dignified expression on his face. Long Fei didn't take it seriously, and said lightly, "It's you, I'm a little disappointed. I thought you would surprise me by taking this step earlier than me, but the result is nothing more than that." Long Fei said lightly, "Dragon Batian is very strong. Even if you face such a force before breaking through, you may be suppressed. But at this moment, no. To Long Fei, this kind of power was only very strong, that's all." In an instant, Long Fei looked at the people behind Long Batian. The corner of his mouth twitched. The only thing is not being invincible. No matter how many people there are, it's useless. I don't know what condition Long Batian gave you, so that you can kill me without hesitation across time and space. But unfortunately, this place will be your place of burial. Land. Long Fei said coldly, with boundless killing intent. W. R. Netelu W. Kahu 5. Net he will not show mercy to the enemy, whether it is Long Batian or these people. If he dares to kill him, he will be completely destroyed. What are you waiting for? Shoot directly. The only thing is not invincible, but he is not invincible either. Long Batian shouted. The next moment, his figure moved again. And with his attack this time, the spacetime of the world began to fission, and the spacetime in front of him began to distort www. Mtl Novell. Com tilde at this moment, he mobilized the power of time and space. Long Fei's expression sank. He sensed the power in front of him. Time and space distortion? His eyes were slightly serious. At this moment, he could clearly perceive a breath of destruction. This is the power after time and space are distorted, as if countless time and space are mixed together, and the riot has the meaning of collapse that wipes out all living beings. It is no exaggeration to say that if one is coerced by this force, the distorted spacetime force can crush a person. Even the unique environment will not be spared. Is this the power of your unique realm? It's very strong. If it was before I came here, I might be in trouble. Long Fei looked at the time and space ripples in front of him, and said leisurely. In the next instant, his body began to change. The flesh and blood directly turned into a black hole. Like a Jedi flooding the galaxy. The terrifying power of devouring also emanates from it. After endless coma, Shiyu suddenly got up from the bed. If you want to watch the latest chapter content, please download the Star Reading app, the latest chapter content without ads. The website has not updated the latest chapter content, and the Star Reading novel app has updated the latest chapter content. He took a big gulp of fresh air, his chest trembling. Confused, puzzled, all kinds of emotions came to my mind. Where is this? Afterwards, Shiyu subconsciously observed his surroundings, and then became even more at a loss. A single dormitory? Even if he was successfully rescued, he should be in the ward now. And my own body, how could there be no injuries at all? With doubts, Shiyu quickly swept his gaze across the room, and finally settled on a mirror by the bedside. The mirror reflected his current appearance. He was about 17 or 18 years old, and he was very handsome. But the problem is, it's not him. Download the Star Reading app and read the latest chapter content without ads for free. My previous self was a handsome young man in his 20s who had been working for a while. But now, no matter how you look at it, this appearance is only the age of a high school student. This change left Shiyu in a daze for a long time. Don't tell him that the operation was a success. The body and appearance have changed. This is not a question of whether to have surgery or not, but of fairy art. He turned into a completely different person. Could it be that he crossed over by himself? In addition to the mirror on the bedside, which was obviously placed in a bad feng shui position, Shiyu also found 3 books beside it. Shiyu picked it up and took a look. The title instantly silenced him. Necessary Beast Breeding Handbook for Novice Breeders Postpartum Care of Pet Animals Guidelines for Evaluation of Alien Beast Eargirls. Shiyu? The titles of the first 2 books are quite normal. What's the matter with you in the last one? Cough. Shiyu's eyes were serious, and he stretched out his hand, but soon his arm stiffened. Just when he was about to open the 3rd book to see what it was, his brain suddenly felt a sharp pain, and a large amount of memories flooded in like a flood. Icefield City. Pet Breeding Base. Trainee Pet Keeper. The website will be closed soon. Download the Star Reading app to provide you with the most powerful upgrade system. Beastmaster. Chapter 5782. Chapter 5782. At this moment, Long Fei's body seemed to sink into nothingness. Even though the tearing power of spacetime distortion in the heaven and earth was still spreading, it did not affect Long Fei's transformation in the slightest. With a cute 5. Net with one move, he turned into a black hole. Of course, this is only the initial state. And as Long Fei turned into a black hole, there was a complete riot in front of my eyes. There was a look of astonishment in the eyes of countless people. Even if they are the masters of the place where they originated, even if they have long been immortal, they have long been the only ones in this era. But seeing the aura displayed by Long Fei at this moment, he still couldn't calm down. Black hole? How is it possible that he can turn into a black hole? This is the incomprehensible power in the universe. Even if I wait in it, I can't come out unharmed. How can he have such power? Incarnation of a black hole, he possesses such terrifying power. The only powerful people who came to the place of origin were shocked. Stronger than them, they are all silent at this moment, with a dignified expression. They are all in the unique realm, and they also know that when they reach this realm, they will control a unique power, like the Tao. Under this power, all the rules are in their hands, and they can gallop freely and unrivaled. But this power is not invincible. As Long Fei said, the only realm is not invincible. For example, between them, the control power is different, and there is also a big gap in strength. This is why they have nothing to do with Long Batian. But at this time, Long Fei made them fear even more. They saw in this battle that even the mighty Long Batian was defeated, and there was nothing he could do under Long Fei's hands. Although there is no winner yet, but at this time Long Fei turned into a black hole, the result can be imagined. This is your power. Black hole? Long Batian stopped attacking, and the ripples in the void gradually disappeared. He obviously knows the horror of black hole power. What? Cowardly? Long Fei asked back. The corner of the mouth also smiled lightly. This black hole power may seem terrifying, but it is not his only power. His power is too diverse, including the only means given by the system, and all kinds of power obtained in the only burial place. But there is no power that really belongs to him. Admit it. Have you ever seen me counseled? The only thing that is not invincible is that the black hole is not extinguished. What I dislike most is your arrogant appearance. Long Batian said bitterly. Then try. Long Fei responded. Too lazy to talk nonsense. Things have come to this point, there is no possibility of good. This battle is no longer about deciding who is superior, but about life and death. This time, only one of them can live. In the next moment, Long Fei's figure took a sudden step and turned into a black hole, and the terrifying devouring power naturally erupted accordingly. Boom boom boom. In an instant, the time and space distorted by Long Batian collapsed instantly. It seemed that he had no power to resist Long Fei's coercion from the black hole. Long Ba's expression changed, he turned around and looked at the crowd. Aren't you going to make a move yet? At this time, he also knew that facing Long Fei, his own strength was simply not enough. And for a unique existence, if you want to kill it, it is definitely not something that one person can do. Unless it's the sea. That's why he let so many people shoot at the same time. In an instant, the figures of the crowd changed, dispersed the world, and surrounded Long Fei. They knew that at this time, they couldn't have any selfishness, let alone underestimate them. Long Fei is too strong. The power of this black hole made them also have a life and death crisis. At this time, you can only work hard, otherwise the result will be unimaginable, and you may even stay here. And from Long Fei's attitude, it can be seen that this is a decisive master of killing, either he dies, or they die. In an instant, everyone exuded an aura that stretched across the sky, like hundreds of great roads shining brightly in space. Rumble. Rumble. At this moment, the whole world began to collapse again, reaching an irreparable state. Long Fei's eyes became even more severe in an instant. A ferocious look appeared in his eyes. Do you dare to destroy the world I created? Then use your strength to fill it up. Long Fei said lightly, and then grabbed it casually. Boom. The power of the black hole unfolds. The power of devouring spreads. Boom, boom, boom. The void also began to explode, and the duel between the two sides officially opened at this moment. The river of time and space. At this time, Long Batian made another move. He shouted loudly, and then pulled out the long river of time and space. Crash. The turbulent waves beat the sky, and isolated Long Fei on the other side of the long river. And at this moment, Long Fei, who was outside the long river, had undergone earth-shaking changes in an instant. As if strangled by the power of time, it acted on him at a speed visible to the naked eye. Between breaths, Long Fei became an old man. Qingxi turned into Huafa. The skin also became wrinkled, and the blood was dry, as if he would die at any moment. This change caused joy to appear in the eyes of everyone above the void. At the same time, he also took a higher look at Long Batian. End the void and rob it vertically. Long Batian's power of time and space is the power to cross the void, an irreversible existence. Even if it is the only realm, even if it is truly immortal, it is useless in front of this kind of power. Shuwu. With grave they can clearly perceive the horror in it. In other words, Long Fei, who was extremely tyrannical, walked farther than them on the only road. If it were them, they might have died under this power. Long Batian is also extremely terrifying. The power of time and space can suppress the only immortal. Even the only one has a time limit and will die. Yes, I hope to kill Long Fei. He can't live, time and space, without the only attribute, everyone will die. Several voices appeared. Net at this time, they were shocked and expectant. They both lamented the mystery of Long Batian's power and hoped that this power could kill Long Fei, so that they would be able to retreat without making a move. But at this time Long Fei was still calm. He watched the years leave marks on his body. Even at this moment, he could feel that time, space and time had come to an end on him. To the end of the void. It seems that you really want me to die. Outsiders just lamented the horror of the Dragon Batian's power. But only Long Fei could clearly feel the true strength of this power. Time and space exist forever, and he, who is on the other side of the long river of time and space, has experienced the changes of the ages in this instant. A moment in a long river, a wave is 1,000,000 years. And in this moment, tens of millions of time and space waves have left marks on his body. In other words, the tens of millions of years he has experienced. He is also the only one who can survive in this situation. He raised his head slowly, his eyes met Long Batian's. At this time, Long Batian was not feeling well. Exercising this kind of power cost him a lot of money, even using his original source. Long Fei, you are indeed stronger than me, even my strongest means can't take you away. Long Batian said in a deep voice. His eyes were gloomy, with a kind of helplessness. This is his law power, and he even has the confidence to use this power to kill any unique one. Long Fei is an exception. After endless coma, Shiyu suddenly got up from the bed. If you want to watch the latest chapter content, please download the Star Reading app, the latest chapter content without ads. The website has not updated the latest chapter content, and the Star Reading novel app has updated the latest chapter content. He took a big gulp of fresh air, his chest trembling. Confused, puzzled, all kinds of emotions came to my mind. Where is this? Afterwards, Shiyu subconsciously observed his surroundings, and then became even more at a loss. A single dormitory? Even if he was successfully rescued, he should be in the ward now. And my own body, how could there be no injuries at all? With doubts, Shiyu quickly swept his gaze across the room, and finally settled on a mirror by the bedside. The mirror reflected his current appearance. He was about 17 or 18 years old, and he was very handsome. But the problem is, it's not him. Download the Star Reading app and read the latest chapter content without ads for free. My previous self was a handsome young man in his 20s who had been working for a while. But now, no matter how you look at it, this appearance is only the age of a high school student. This change left Shiyu in a daze for a long time. Don't tell him that the operation was a success. The body and appearance have changed. This is not a question of whether to have surgery or not, but of fairy art. He turned into a completely different person. Could it be that he crossed over by himself? In addition to the mirror on the bedside, which was obviously placed in a bad feng shui position, Shiyu also found 3 books beside it. Shiyu picked it up and took a look. The title instantly silenced him. Necessary Beast Breeding Handbook for Novice Breeders, Postpartum Care of Pet Animals, Guidelines for Evaluation of Alien Beast Eargirls. Shiyu? The titles of the first 2 books are quite normal. What's the matter with you in the last one? Cough. Shiyu's eyes were serious, and he stretched out his hand, but soon his arm stiffened. Just when he was about to open the 3rd book to see what it was, his brain suddenly felt a sharp pain, and a large amount of memories flooded in like a flood. Icefield City. Pet Breeding Base. Trainee Pet Keeper. The website will be closed soon. Download the Star Reading app to provide you with the most powerful upgrade system. Beastmaster. Chapter 5783. Chapter 5783. He has used the power of time and space to the extreme. If Long Fei couldn't bear it, he would die naturally if he died. But if Long Fei can carry it, it will prove his strength, and there is nothing he can do about it. And at the moment he expresses such emotion, it also proves that he has given up. You are also very strong, but unfortunately, I am stronger. Long Fei said calmly. Although Long Batian had given in, Long Fei would not be moved by this. Especially after Long Batian exerted this power, there was no second result. He had to die. Since I'm stronger than you, then you just wait to die. Today's chaotic world is your burial place. No one can stop you from coming, as I said. Long Fei's killing intent was as firm as a rock. On the other side, as Long Fei's voice fell, their expressions became more complicated. WP. KA with Macron SH5. Net Long Batian, what do you mean? Did you just give up? Your strength hasn't dissipated yet. He is on the verge of death. As long as you persist for a while, you will definitely kill him. Dragon Batian. Countless voices appeared. The conversation between the two made them uneasy. Even the terrifying power of Long Batian can't kill Long Fei, so with their strength, is it possible? So, at this moment, they all panicked. Long Fei ignored them, and just glanced at them indifferently. Break. The next moment, he opened his mouth slowly. Boom. And as his voice fell, the long river of time and space suddenly shattered. Long Batian's figure also flew out instantly. Long Fei's body also began to recover. In an instant, the dying state of his body disappeared without a trace, and his blood energy recovered, surging through the heavens and the earth like a vast galaxy. His black hole body is still there. The power of devouring diffused again. Brush. In the next moment, his figure flickered, and he suddenly came to Long Batian. Is there anything else you want to say? Long Fei said calmly, extremely indifferent. Since Long Batian can't kill him, now is the time for Long Batian to die. There's nothing to say. It's just that you are very pitiful. Long Batian said calmly. Long Fei Tong Kong shrank. Pitiful? When you are about to die, you still have the heart to call me pitiful. What a joke. Long Fei snorted coldly. Oh, one day you will understand what I mean. Then you will know what despair is. You can't live, you can't die. Long Batian said coldly. Long Fei's eyes changed. What do you mean? He asked back. Long Batian's words really touched Long Fei. This voice is exactly the same as the emotions shown by the Chaos Spirit and the system before. They said they would regret it, and Long Batian said he was pitiful. This attitude instantly aroused Long Fei's emotions, restlessness and displeasure. Oh! Long Batian sneered, without any response. If you don't say it, you will die, Long Fei said. At this moment, he felt that his emotions were on the verge of explosion. As soon as he raised his hand, a long sword appeared in his hand. Immediately, the sword broke through the void and landed directly on Long Baishan's neck. Brush. In an instant, the faces of the people above the void changed. No one doubted Long Fei's power. If Long Fei is willing, under this sword, Long Batian will also die. Because this sword also has the power to restrain the only immortal among the methods Long Batian used before. KS double. Net, in other words, under this sword, they will also be in danger of life and death. For a moment, no one dared to speak. Even at this moment, they didn't have the courage to face Long Fei directly, let alone kill Long Fei. On the contrary, what they are thinking about now is how to escape from Long Fei's hands. But they dare not move. Moreover, now that Long Baishan's power has disappeared, and the space-time tunnel has also disappeared, it means that what awaits them at this time will be the massacre of Long Fei. For a moment, they looked at each other. No one wants to die. Especially after they became the only realm, they escaped from life and death. But now, Long Fei's power already has the power to dominate their life and death. Silence like a cicada. Long Fei didn't bother to pay attention to them now. Long Fei only had Long Batian in his eyes. No one can save you. You are my lifelong enemy. Tell me what you have discovered. I will give you a decent way to die. Long Fei said. You won't know. As for how to die, do I care? You're going to die anyway. You can do whatever you want. Long Batian was still arrogant, and he didn't change his habits until he died. www.kahu5. Net, I'll help you. Long Fei's voice turned cold. Too lazy to bother. In an instant, the long sword in his hand moved. Brush. There was a flash of cold light. Long Fei's long sword directly pierced Long Baishan's neck. The lifelong enemy is going offline at this moment. Long Fei's expression was indifferent, without any emotional fluctuations. In an instant, he turned his eyes and looked at the people above the void. The power of these people is still surging. But he kept his own way and dared not step forward, let alone attack Long Fei. It's up to you. The loss of this world can just be made up for with your strength. Long Fei's killing intent went berserk. Long Batian didn't even have any worries, and he didn't even care about these people in front of him. Brush. Long Fei swung his sword across the sky. Puff. A figure suddenly collapsed. And his power also scattered around the world as Long Fei's sword fell, and merged into the world that was about to collapse. But this is just the beginning. This sword also represented the beginning of the massacre. Even if it is the only realm, it won't work, it must be the soul of his sword. Whoosh whoosh. Long Fei was ruthless in killing and invincible in horizontal pushing. His emotions had reached an explosive state, and under the impact of hostility, he had no fear and only wanted to kill. No. Why is this happening? Is this someone who traveled back to die? Voices burst out with unwillingness. This result is completely different from what they thought. They never thought it would be such a result. They thought that with their camp, it would be easy to kill the only one, but they didn't expect that the entire army would be wiped out soon. But unfortunately, even at this time, it is useless for them to regret. Long Fei will not be diverted by their will at all. The sword moves the world, the only sword that truly shows the only characteristic at this time, can overwhelm everything, even if it is the only existence, it is also death. Puff puff. Blood poured down like heavy rain, filled the world, and the stench of the wind blew, making the world strange. However, the blood of these people sank directly into the ground and disappeared. But Long Fei didn't care, he only had one belief in his eyes at this moment, to destroy everything. As time passed, the figures in the world gradually disappeared, leaving only Long Fei. Long Fei seemed to be numb, and the cold killing intent ravaged his body. And the power of these people returned to this world with their deaths. The world is also becoming more and more stable, even much stronger than before. After endless coma, Shiyu suddenly got up from the bed. If you want to watch the latest chapter content, please download the Star Reading app, the latest chapter content without ads. The website has not updated the latest chapter content, and the Star Reading Novel app has updated the latest chapter content. He took a big gulp of fresh air, his chest trembling. Confused, puzzled, all kinds of emotions came to my mind. Where is this? Afterwards, Shiyu subconsciously observed his surroundings, and then became even more at a loss. A single dormitory? Even if he was successfully rescued, he should be in the ward now. And my own body, how could there be no injuries at all? With doubts, Shiyu quickly swept his gaze across the room, and finally settled on a mirror by the bedside. The mirror reflected his current appearance. He was about 17 or 18 years old, and he was very handsome. But the problem is, it's not him. Download the Star Reading app and read the latest chapter content without ads for free. My previous self was a handsome young man in his 20s who had been working for a while. But now, no matter how you look at it, this appearance is only the age of a high school student. This change left Shiyu in a daze for a long time. Don't tell him that the operation was a success. The body and appearance have changed. This is not a question of whether to have surgery or not, but of fairy art. He turned into a completely different person. Could it be that he crossed over by himself? In addition to the mirror on the bedside, which was obviously placed in a bad feng shui position, Shiyu also found 3 books beside it. Shiyu picked it up and took a look. The title instantly silenced him. Necessary Beast Breeding Handbook for Novice Breeders, Postpartum Care of Pet Animals, Guidelines for Evaluation of Alien Beast Eargirls. Shiyu? The titles of the first 2 books are quite normal. What's the matter with you in the last one? Cough. Shiyu's eyes were serious, and he stretched out his hand, but soon his arm stiffened. Just when he was about to open the 3rd book to see what it was, his brain suddenly felt a sharp pain, and a large amount of memories flooded in like a flood. Icefield City. Pet Breeding Base. Trainee Pet Keeper. The website will be closed soon. Download the Star Reading app to provide you with the most powerful upgrade system. Beastmaster. Chapter 5784. Chapter 5784. Such a world is a world. It is impenetrable and indestructible. Moreover, not to mention anything else, the fact that this world can carry the only power to destroy is an unusual thing in itself. Coupled with the fusion of hundreds of unique forces now, it will directly rise to the next level. System, you have killed so many, don't pretend. A moment later, Long Fei retracted his sword and said suddenly. But as soon as the words fell, Long Fei fell into deep thought. His mind was in turmoil. This is a subtle habit in memory. Unfortunately, the system has really disappeared. Without the system, I am equally invincible. Although their strength is strong, I am stronger. Long Fei comforted himself. Immediately, he fell into silence. Meditate in my mind. Many things are unpredictable. The logic doesn't make sense either. When he first entered this world, he knew that the power of this era cannot be changed. But too much is happening right now. The system disappears and the mission is cancelled. Now he doesn't know if the world will change if he goes back. He looked into the distance, with the blue sky on his back, independent from the world. At this moment, a deep sense of loneliness emerged in my heart. He never felt this way. It can only be said that the departure of the system made Long Fei feel at a loss. Moreover, he knew that this time the system really disappeared and ceased to exist. What did they find? And the appearance of Long Batian, does it have anything to do with the sea? Does Dahai know what Long Batian said? Net Long Fei fell into deep thought, frowning tightly. At this moment he felt abandoned. It is clear that everyone formed a group to stop the apocalypse robbery, so why did he betray his relatives while walking? Long Fei felt the fire in his heart, and he had a feeling that he really wanted to find the sea, find out everything, and see what happened at the end. Suddenly, at this moment, a voice suddenly appeared in his ears. The killing is really clean. Long Fei's eyes were fixed. Turn around abruptly. I saw a figure appearing in front of me. But outside of this figure, there is an inexplicable force that surrounds him, which cannot be seen through at all. Even Long Fei couldn't see the opponent's face. But inexplicably, a name emerged in Long Fei's mind. The sea. He called out the name of the sea. This is an extremely intuitive feeling, and he also believes that there is nothing wrong with it. The person in front of him is definitely the sea. Although the other party used means to cover himself up, but with this means, the only thing that can evade his perception without sound and sound must be the sea. But the person in front of him was silent. It's a little unexpected. Even I didn't expect that this land of chaos would bring you such an opportunity, the man said. He neither admitted nor denied it. Long Fei's eyes were calm, but there was resentment in the calm. What, are you here to kill me? Or to reprimand me? Long Fei asked back. If it's the former, it's considered death, and he has to do it. If it's the latter, he's too lazy to say more, since Long Batian has brought people to tease him, wouldn't it be more reasonable to kill them? Neither. The man shook his head. In an instant, he crossed his hands. Slightly together. In an instant, the flow of light between the heaven and the earth turned hundreds of times. It turned out to be the souls of those people that Long Fei had beheaded before. Long Fei was stunned. They are all gone, how can they gather their spirits? There was a sense of solemnity in his eyes. This person's methods were too weird. Whether it was the sea or not, he could be sure that his strength was definitely above his own. I will take them away, and as a price, I can perfect this world for you. The man continued. After finishing speaking, without waiting for Long Fei to respond, he waved his hands as if stroking the world. Clatter. Visible to the naked eye, a 10,000 jong golden light emerges between the sky and the earth. The already extremely stable world seemed to be revived at this moment. Right. It's just revitalizing. Originally, this world has only just been opened up, and everything has not had time to be defined. Later, after this great battle, the whole world seemed to have become a place of death. WP. KA with Macron SH5 tilde WWW. MTL Novelle. Com tilde la but now, it came alive in the hands of this person. Beheading hundreds of uniques, their power seems to be completely integrated into the world, fused into some kind of rules, making the world work. It's like redefining. 4 o'clock day and night flickered before Long Fei's eyes, the scorching heat and severe cold. The rules of heaven and earth are perfected at once. Not only that, Long Fei also vaguely saw the depths of this world. There are giant dragons roaring, unicorns stepping on the sky, and phoenixes burning in the sky. Also, the power of the chaos demon god that he devoured, which dissipated during the catastrophe, also dissipated outside the world at this time, forming a desperate land. Of course, there is also the power of chaos. Long Fei. The more I look at it, the more shocked I am. These two places were also created because of me. Long Fei frowned tightly. It was so shocking that he wouldn't believe it if he hadn't seen it with his own eyes. I thought I had changed the world, but I didn't expect that the current development is the right way. Gradually withdrawing his gaze, Long Fei was ready to ask clearly. The person in front of him is too powerful, unbelievably powerful, and the power he controls is unprecedented. Although his current cultivation base and strength are extremely terrifying, compared with the person in front of him, he is nothing compared to the insignificant. But the moment he looked away, he saw something that made him more silent. A hollow willow. And in the body of the willow, there is also a cricket supporting life. When this scene appeared, Long Fei was basically determined. He hasn't changed anything. Everything that should have appeared has already appeared. Where are your beads? At this moment, the man spoke again. Without any doubt, Long Fei directly took out the previous bead from the system space. Although the system disappeared, this space was left for Long Fei. The moment Long Fei took out the bead, a brilliance suddenly appeared on the surface of the bead, and scenes of the cultivation of human civilization emerged in it. Long Fei Tong Kong shrank. Never expected that the power of humanity contained in this bead came from this way. Without saying a word, he stared blankly at the person in front of him. If this person is really the sea, why would he spare no effort to help himself? Logically speaking, it shouldn't be so. You know, I condense human civilization, but in order to deal with them, to face the competition in the prehistoric world. No matter how you look at it, the sea has no reason to help itself. At this moment, doubts arose in his heart. Is the person in front of me really the sea? Moreover, the person in front of him seemed to be very clear about his purpose. Everything he did at this time seemed to be maintaining the original law of development of the world. This made Long Fei not understand. But during this thought, the man also ended his actions. He looked at Long Fei. Don't think too much, everything is established and difficult to change. Including what I did, it was just to maintain the law. The voice appeared again, speaking inexplicable words. After endless coma, Shiyu suddenly got up from the bed. If you want to watch the latest chapter content, please download the Star Reading app, the latest chapter content without ads. The website has not updated the latest chapter content, and the Star Reading novel app has updated the latest chapter content. He took a big gulp of fresh air, his chest trembling. Confused, puzzled, all kinds of emotions came to my mind. Where is this? Afterwards, Shiyu subconsciously observed his surroundings, and then became even more at a loss. A single dormitory? Even if he was successfully rescued, he should be in the ward now. And my own body, how could there be no injuries at all? With doubts, Shiyu quickly swept his gaze across the room, and finally settled on a mirror by the bedside. The mirror reflected his current appearance. He was about 17 or 18 years old, and he was very handsome. But the problem is, it's not him. Download the Star Reading app and read the latest chapter content without ads for free. My previous self was a handsome young man in his 20s who had been working for a while. But now, no matter how you look at it, this appearance is only the age of a high school student. This change left Shiyu in a daze for a long time. Don't tell him that the operation was a success. The body and appearance have changed. This is not a question of whether to have surgery or not, but of fairy art. He turned into a completely different person. Could it be that he crossed over by himself? In addition to the mirror on the bedside, which was obviously placed in a bad feng shui position, Shiyu also found 3 books beside it. Shiyu picked it up and took a look. The title instantly silenced him. Necessary Beast Breeding Handbook for Novice Breeders, Postpartum Care of Pet Animals, Guidelines for Evaluation of Alien Beast Eargirls. Shiyu? The titles of the first 2 books are quite normal. What's the matter with you in the last one? Cough. Shiyu's eyes were serious, and he stretched out his hand, but soon his arm stiffened. Just when he was about to open the 3rd book to see what it was, his brain suddenly felt a sharp pain, and a large amount of memories flooded in like a flood. Icefield City. Pet Breeding Base. Trainee Pet Keeper. The website will be closed soon. Download the Star Reading app to provide you with the most powerful upgrade system. Beastmaster. Chapter 5785. Chapter 5785. Long Fei's face was difficult to calm down. Dahai, what is your purpose for doing this? Also, we are already so familiar, so there is no need to do such a thing. Long Fei said. He is probing. He wasn't sure if the person in front of him was the sea. It can only be said that his methods are too mysterious, even Long Fei can't see through them. No need to try. Go, this bead will guide you and do what you should do. As the man said, he handed the bead to Long Fei, and in an instant, his figure turned into a beam of light and disappeared. Come and go without a trace. Long Fei couldn't even capture the opponent's trajectory, and couldn't deduce where the opponent came from. Slight sigh. Immediately, Long Fei looked at the beads in his hand. Therein lies a complete humane civilization. From newer Fushi to the prehistoric era. It is a complete humane path. Who the ***** are you? Long Fei said in a deep voice, looking at the direction where the figure of the sea disappeared, and fell into silence. But at this moment, a red glow suddenly appeared in the bead. Long Fei flinched, fear arose in his heart. Subconsciously, she shook off the beads in her hand. But it was still too late. The bead seemed to have a locking function, and that red glow directly cut through the void and poured into Long Fei's mind. In an instant, Long Fei froze in place. Like a statue. After a while, Long Fei recovered. But his aura has changed drastically from before. The ferocity disappeared. There was even some confusion in his eyes. This is the ancient time. Well, it looks good. The world is so vast, and I can feel the extremely terrifying aura. Long Fei said to himself, looking at the world in front of him, with curiosity in his eyes. But for some reason, he always felt that the world in front of him was a little familiar. It seems that I have done something, but I can't remember anything. System, have I been here before, and I always feel like I've done something? Long Fei said softly. But suddenly, there was an illusion in his heart. System? Isn't the system gone? But immediately, he denied such absurd idea. Although the system is a dog, it is still loyal to itself. How could she abandon herself? Ding, please don't have any illusions, players, you have just arrived in the ancient times. And it is still in the early days of the ancient times. You see, the creatures between the heavens and the earth have just appeared. You said you have been here, and what have you done? Could it be that you think could it be you who created the world? The system responded angrily. Long Fei was taken aback. Although it is uncomfortable, it must be admitted that the system is right. Shut up. What should I do now? Long Fei asked. Although the feeling in his heart still exists, he now knows that his most urgent task is to solve the system tasks. Of course the task is solved. Heh. What about the task? Where did my task go? The system said casually. But it soon became a shock. Because at this moment, the system discovered that its mission had disappeared. Don't make a fuss, you posted the mission, so it's possible that it disappeared inexplicably? Long Fei asked back. He didn't believe what the system said at this time, and felt that the system was playing tricks. No, is it really gone? Moreover, it is still in an uncontrollable state, that is to say, I can no longer issue missions. The system responded, but the voice was somewhat unnatural. It was as if he was also filled with shock at this moment. Long Fei fell silent. This is not right. This is definitely not a coincidence. But thinking of this thought made Long Fei extremely afraid. You know, he is now the only state, and there are only a handful of people who can reach this state in the world. But if this is the case, someone can change his memory without anyone noticing, or even erase some of the system's memory, which is terrifying. System, do you think we have encountered something unbelievable? Long Fei asked in a low voice. His heart is heavy. I don't know. But the system has detected an abnormality in your body, which seems to contain a terrifying power. At this time, the system said. Long Fei was startled, and even more surprised. He himself didn't feel anything, but at this moment he was prompted by the system to check himself quickly. However, no abnormalities were found. His brow furrowed. He didn't doubt the system's words, but at this time the system could sense it, but he didn't find anything, which proved the horror of that power. But one thing is for sure. If both the system and myself find something is wrong, then there must be an unknown force that has appeared. If you say that, something weird must have happened. Long Fei became more and more sure. I don't know, the system can't perceive any trace of anyone's existence. But it's strange, I seem to remember that I abandoned you, but now you are here again. The system murmured to itself. But these words made Long Fei's scalp tingle instantly. He didn't say. But the absurd feeling he had at the beginning reappeared. Lessons learned. This coincidence made Long Fei instantly certain that something unspeakable must have happened between the system and himself before, but it was unknown what it was. But the inexplicable sense of fear in my heart is getting stronger and stronger, and it is extremely terrifying to be able to do it quietly. Is it the sea? There was an inexplicable guess in his mind. Among the people he knows, the only person who can do this is probably the sea. Of course, there may be another possibility. That is, there is a person in this world who is not inferior to the sea. Just like when he never entered the place of origin, the sea was extremely afraid of the place of origin. No matter what kind of existence it is, I can't underestimate it. It seems that I must hurry up. Long Fei thought in his heart. As for the remaining power in the body, he couldn't figure it out, and he didn't want to waste time on it. Since the person who took the shot can do this step without making a sound, it proves that it is definitely not something that he can lift at this stage. WP. KA with Macron SH5. Net since it can't be lifted, it doesn't matter to waste time on it, it's just mediocrity. System, there are no missions now, So how do we count this mission? How do we count rewards and punishments? Long Fei asked. If the mission disappears, that naturally means that the rewards and punishments will disappear. Therefore, you must consider whether you want to continue the task now. Ding, the missions are gone, so are the rewards and punishments. Moreover, the system has detected traces of an inexplicable force intruding, so it needs to block itself and clean it up. The system responded. KS double. Net, it can be seen that the system is also extremely attentive at this time. But it's normal, as far as the system is concerned, even Long Fei can't interfere with his power, but now there is an unfamiliar force that has changed the system, which makes the system extremely cautious. Kahu5. Net. Long Fei nodded. It's very systematic. Although the system is a bit stupid, it is still very serious when it should be serious. After endless coma, Shiyu suddenly got up from the bed. If you want to watch the latest chapter content, please download the Star Reading app, the latest chapter content without ads. The website has not updated the latest chapter content, and the Star Reading novel app has updated the latest chapter content. He took a big gulp of fresh air, his chest trembling. Confused, puzzled, all kinds of emotions came to my mind. Where is this? Afterwards, Shiyu subconsciously observed his surroundings, and then became even more at a loss. A single dormitory? Even if he was successfully rescued, he should be in the ward now. And my own body, how could there be no injuries at all? With doubts, Shiyu quickly swept his gaze across the room, and finally settled on a mirror by the bedside. The mirror reflected his current appearance. He was about 17 or 18 years old, and he was very handsome. But the problem is, it's not him. Download the Star Reading app and read the latest chapter content without ads for free. My previous self was a handsome young man in his 20s who had been working for a while. But now, no matter how you look at it, this appearance is only the age of a high school student. This change left Shiyu in a daze for a long time. Don't tell him that the operation was a success. The body and appearance have changed. This is not a question of whether to have surgery or not, but of fairy art. He turned into a completely different person. Could it be that he crossed over by himself? In addition to the mirror on the bedside, which was obviously placed in a bad feng shui position, Shiyu also found 3 books beside it. Shiyu picked it up and took a look. The title instantly silenced him. Necessary Beast Breeding Handbook for Novice Breeders, Postpartum Care of Pet Animals, Guidelines for Evaluation of Alien Beast Eargirls. Shiyu? The titles of the first 2 books are quite normal. What's the matter with you in the last one? Cough. Shiyu's eyes were serious, and he stretched out his hand, but soon his arm stiffened. Just when he was about to open the 3rd book to see what it was, his brain suddenly felt a stabbing pain, and a large amount of memories flooded in like a flood. Icefield City. Pet Breeding Base. Trainee Pet Keeper. The website will be closed soon. Download the Star Reading app to provide you with the most powerful upgrade system. Beastmaster. Chapter 5786. Chapter 5786. Then what should I do next? How can I go back? Long Fei asked. After calming down, Long Fei changed the topic to the main topic. Since the mission disappeared, Long Fei would not be too entangled. But have to go back. That era is the home game, and this is just an episode. Ding, this needs to be found by players themselves. Friendly reminder. Although the mission has been cancelled, Nua's consumption actually exists in that time and space. That is to say, players can only exist in this time and space for a maximum of 10 days. No, I feel it seems that there was an accident, and the player had better go back within 3 days, otherwise Nua might have an accident, the system said. In an instant, Long Fei's face darkened. The system's words remind him. He feels very Model Lake. It was clear that this was the first time he came here, but he always felt that he had done something here before. It was precisely because of this that the words of the system at this time made Long Fei tremble. A with acute 5. Net must speed up. And when the system said the time of 3 days, Long Fei also didn't have any grievances. He even felt that the time said by the system at this time was a bit reserved, and he wanted to be faster. Nua is now his own woman. He will never take any risks. At this moment, a bead suddenly flashed a light of humanity. This brilliance is the power of human civilization shining, and there is a fearless belief in it. KS double. Net. Just like the human race cultivated the world in the historical existence, it lasts for a long time and is unyielding. However, Long Fei's expression changed. This breath is clearly already a complete humane civilization. Long Fei was dumbfounded. System, what's going on here? Didn't I bring a broken bead? Why does it already contain humane civilization? Long Fei asked back. Ding. The system dings, but there is no response. Dumbfounded. Even the system didn't have any explanation at this time. What happened in front of him was beyond the outline, and it couldn't be explained by the power he now possesses. But before Long Fei could think more, the bead hovered and hovered in front of Long Fei. The brilliance shone so brightly that Long Fei didn't even want to look directly at it. It's not that Long Fei's strength is not enough. Rather, this power is human civilization, and as a human race, Long Fei has a natural awe for this power. It doesn't matter how strong he is now. No matter how strong he is, he will not despise the human race. Stretching out his hand slowly, the bead fell into his hand smoothly as if it had a spirituality at this moment. The moment he got it, Long Fei was excited. It seems that at this moment, he has mastered the future of the human race. For a moment, Long Fei had an impulse in his heart, that is, to destroy the apocalypse tribulation no matter what price he paid. System, can you deduce from the change of this bead who has tampered with it? Long Fei asked. Feeling the power of civilization contained in the beads, he was even more astonished beyond measure. He asked himself that he could never do it. Even if the task is still there, if he is asked to deduce human civilization within a few days, or even hide it in a bead, he will definitely not be able to do it. This requires extremely terrifying strength to support. Many times, it is easier to destroy than to create. But the power that Long Fei is good at is more destruction. As for creation and deduction, he has never been contaminated with this kind of power. So, to a certain extent, the person behind the shot was also helping him. Ding, I can't perceive it, and there is no trace to be found at all. And I advise players not to waste time on this kind of thing. The other party can hide it from you and me, and do so many things in silence. It proves that the other party must have controlled an indescribable and illogical force, said the system. Long Fei pouted. I am very upset. He thought that his current cultivation base had reached the only level. Even if someone was stronger than him, he would definitely not feel powerless like before. But now, a slap in the face. Even the trace of the other party could not be found. Damn it, when I upset the prehistoric world and push a calamity to the extreme, when I get the power in it, my cultivation level goes a step further, and even reaches the legendary one and only. I want to see, in the end, who is still controlling my fate. Long Fei said secretly in his heart. After finishing speaking, Long Fei grasped the pearl of humanity in his hand. In the next moment, he soared into the sky and soared above the 9 heavens. Then, countless creatures and hidden existences in the world fell under his gaze. Heavenly Dao Hongjun has not yet attained the Dao. Hollow willows haven't become ancestors yet. The gods and demons are still there, huh? The Nether Blood Sea has already appeared at this time. It's really weird. Scenes of pictures appeared in Long Fei's eyes. On the one hand, he felt curious, but on the other hand, he felt extremely familiar, and even a lot of power gave him a feeling, as if it had been stripped from his body. This feeling is very mysterious and indescribable. But he still had no impulse. He knows that in this world, he can't change anything. After all, this is at the other end of time and space. A little change here might affect the progress of this piece of world. So even though Long Fei had Ji Dong in his heart and wanted to see these creatures, he finally endured it. Gradually, he withdrew his gaze and looked at the world and the surrounding fields. He wants to find Huayun Cave. It's not an era. Many existences between heaven and earth are different from the prehistoric era. So, where is the Huayun Cave? Long Fei pondered. Even if there is no task, I still have to go out at this step, so that I can find the way back and NUWA can be safe and sound. But the world is vast, and he used his strength to traverse the world, looking for it again and again, but he still couldn't find any clues. The next moment, his figure fell from the void, took out the human bead, and stared at it. But apart from being able to see the mileage of the human race contained in it, I can't see anything else, and there is no guidance at all. Where exactly? Long Fei frowned. Suddenly, his eyes moved. No, I seem to have fallen into a misunderstanding. There is no Huayun Cave in this world. In other words, if I create a place and name it Huayun Cave, then it will be Huayun Cave. With a change of thinking, Long Fei's eyes suddenly brightened. His previous thinking was to be bound by himself, to draw the ground as a prison, and he must find Huayun Cave if he had preconceived ideas. But how to find something that does not exist in this world? Now with just one thought, Long Fei has his own decision in his heart. With a movement of his hand, he turned his eyes and looked at nothingness. The next moment, a little blood appeared in his hand. This blood essence pierced the void, rendering a cloud of blood. The blood-colored cloud was like fire, burning in the sky. Drop! Long Fei gave a loud shout. Boom! The blood cloud fell from the sky, and the place where it fell directly stirred up thousands of feet of dust and smoke. When the dust and smoke dissipated, a mountain range suddenly appeared in front of my eyes. Long Fei's eyes lit up. This is the mountain range where Huayun Cave is located. So, that's how Huayun Cave came out. Long Fei felt secretly refreshed. After endless coma, Shiyu suddenly got up from the bed. If you want to watch the latest chapter content, please download the Star Reading app, the latest chapter content without ads. The website has not updated the latest chapter content, and the Star Reading novel app has updated the latest chapter content. He took a big gulp of fresh air, his chest trembling. Confused, puzzled, all kinds of emotions came to my mind. Where is this? Afterwards, Shiyu subconsciously observed his surroundings, and then became even more at a loss. A single dormitory? Even if he was successfully rescued, he should be in the ward now. And my own body, how could there be no injuries at all? With doubts, Shiyu quickly swept his gaze across the room, and finally settled on a mirror by the bedside. The mirror reflected his current appearance. He was about 17 or 18 years old, and he was very handsome. But the problem is, it's not him. Download the Star Reading app and read the latest chapter content without ads for free. My previous self was a handsome young man in his 20s who had been working for a while. But now, no matter how you look at it, this appearance is only the age of a high school student. This change left Shiyu in a daze for a long time. Don't tell him that the operation was a success. The body and appearance have changed. This is not a question of whether to have surgery or not, but of fairy art. He turned into a completely different person. Could it be that he crossed over by himself? In addition to the mirror on the bedside, which was obviously placed in a bad feng shui position, Shiyu also found 3 books beside it. Shiyu picked it up and took a look. The title instantly silenced him. Necessary Beast Breeding Handbook for Novice Breeders, Postpartum Care of Pet Animals, Guidelines for Evaluation of Alien Beast Eargirls. Shiyu? The titles of the first 2 books are quite normal. What's the matter with you in the last one? Cough. Shiyu's eyes were serious, and he stretched out his hand, but soon his arm stiffened. Just when he was about to open the 3rd book to see what it was, his brain suddenly felt a stabbing pain, and a large amount of memories flooded in like a flood. Icefield City. Pet Breeding Base. Trainee Pet Keeper. The website will be closed soon. Download the Star Reading app to provide you with the most powerful upgrade system. Beastmaster. Chapter 5787. Chapter 5787. The mountains are poor and the rivers are back. I thought it would take a lot of time to find it, but I didn't expect it to be so simple. With a thought, Long Fei strolled into it. According to the location in memory, he directly punched out a cave, and then walked in slowly. But just as Long Fei was carrying out his actions step by step, he didn't know that at this moment, 2 figures were overlooking everything in front of him outside the world. Heh, it's ridiculous. I thought everything would change when I travel back, but I didn't expect that it was doomed in the torrent of history. A voice appeared. If Long Fei was here, he would be shocked. Because this figure is exactly Long Batian. Do you know why I didn't stop you before? I'm used to this kind of thing, even for the first time, I did it myself, but it still hasn't changed. Another voice appeared, and this voice was the sea. You can't even stop your attack. Can't you kill Long Fei? Long Batian looked at the sea with shock in his eyes. The power of the sea to bring him back from his disorientation was a miracle. Even the only environment has to look up. It was precisely because of this that he was even more shocked at this time. So strong that he couldn't even stop Long Fei. He won't die unless he wants to. Dahai said calmly. So hanging. What is his origin? Long Batian was shocked. The words of the sea are tantamount to a depth bomb. You can't say it. At least it's useless to tell you now. You'd better go through the reincarnation obediently. I'm so annoying, you have to go to the place of origin to face that terrifying existence. Dahai said, without waiting for Long Batian to react. Come here, grab Long Batian and disappear into the world. But at this time, Long Fei naturally didn't know that the sea was outside the sky at this time. He blasted out of the Huayun cave with one punch, and walked all the way to the depths. Along the way, he was imagining the competition in the prehistoric world. He didn't even care about it himself. What he said to himself was the same as some of the scenes he and Nuer awakened when they entered the Huayun cave to meet the three emperors. At this moment, he was already at the end of Huayun cave. Let's just put it here. I don't know what kind of opportunity it contains. I hope that I can get incredible power to ensure that I am invincible in the three-way competition in my prehistoric world. Long Fei no longer thought about it, and put the "this bead is placed here" www. TL Novel. Com la. As for the rest, he won't do any more. There was already a concept in his mind that nothing would change. In other words, this bead containing humane civilization can only be opened in the hands of Fushi and Nuer. Although they haven't appeared yet, there will be no mistakes in this period of historical process, which is bound to happen. So Long Fei wouldn't be worried that someone would enter the Huayun cave. Of course, Long Fei was able to have this confidence because his own blood essence was fused into the Huayun cave when it was created. His current strength has been so strong that it can be called terrifying. One's own blood essence is enough to shield the ghosts and monsters under the only one. I have to add another setting, otherwise it will be troublesome when even Fushi and Nuer can't come in. Thinking in his heart, Long Fei's figure walked out of Huayun cave. He can follow his heart. A will of one's own will descend. Directly cover this Huayun cave. And his own will is also very simple. That is to shield the evil spirits of the heavens. This was the ancient times, when countless creatures were powerful and ferocious. What he had to do was to shield these beings from Huayun cave. The only ones allowed are those who are in or of living beings. And in this era, it is even advancing down an era. The only ones who meet this condition are Fushi and Nuer. After doing all this, Long Fei's mind also settled down. At least, there will be no mistakes in time. In other words, Nuer's comfort can be guaranteed for the time being. The next thing is to find the way back. Long Fei thought, and started to walk forward. Within a few steps, his figure appeared directly outside the sky. He has no interest in this world. This feeling emanates from his heart, as if he already knows this world well, and he doesn't want to take another look. But the moment his figure appeared in this prehistoric world, he frowned. His eyes suddenly became serious. Here doesn't seem to be the place of origin. This is not the place of origin, and it's completely different from the breath I felt when I entered the place of origin. Long Fei was shocked. Incredible. As far as he could see, there was a barren galaxy. Countless stars are still decaying and dying. And the direction in which they fell was the world beyond the prehistoric. Boom. Suddenly, under the impact of the scene in front of him, a cognition suddenly appeared in Long Fei's mind. The prehistoric world is the place where stars fall. System, come out. Long Fei directly contacted the system. In this case, only the system can give him an explanation. Although, his mission is gone. But he naturally remembered what was said in the previous mission. Yi Yurong and Tushan Xiaoya were in the place where the stars fell. www.kahu5 Doesn't this mean that these two people are in the prehistoric world? Thinking of this thought, Long Fei could no longer suppress his heart. Even, at this moment, he couldn't wait to leave this world and return to the prehistoric world. If the prehistoric world is really the place where the stars fall, then it will be regarded as repeating the world, and I will definitely find you. Long Fei's eyes were as cold as iron. That was his woman, and he must rescue it. Even if there is no system task, no force can stop it. It's just that the system seems to have really entered the repair state at this moment, and there is no response. But this discovery also made Long Fei unable to calm down. In the next moment, he looked into the distance. If this is not the place of eternity, then there must be mysteries that I don't know about, such as the origin of the place of origin, and even the power of the stars in this galaxy. Long Fei thought. The system didn't respond, but he still wanted to confirm his guess. Immediately after that, his figure flashed, and he walked towards the depths of nothingness. But at this moment, a force suddenly spread out. Immediately afterwards, he saw a bright light flickering out of nothingness. The body of the light is like a huge palm. Palms facing up. Like 5 fingers spread out. And above those 5 fingers, countless stars twinkled out. Immediately afterwards, a familiar breath rushed over. And this breath belongs to the place of origin. In other words, at this moment, the land of origin appeared. It's like something out of nothing. It's this giant palm that created the place of origin. Long Fei frowned, puzzled in his heart. He had a strong desire to explore that place. It seems that somewhere in the dark, there is a force that wants to attract myself to explore. After endless coma, Shiyu suddenly got up from the bed. If you want to watch the latest chapter content, please download the Star Reading app, the latest chapter content without ads. The website has not updated the latest chapter content, and the Star Reading novel app has updated the latest chapter content. He took a big gulp of fresh air, his chest trembling. Confused, puzzled, all kinds of emotions came to my mind. Where is this? Afterwards, Shiyu subconsciously observed his surroundings, and then became even more at a loss. A single dormitory? Even if he was successfully rescued, he should be in the ward now. And my own body, how could there be no injuries at all? With doubts, Shiyu quickly swept his gaze across the room, and finally settled on a mirror by the bedside. The mirror reflected his current appearance. He was about 17 or 18 years old, and he was very handsome. But the problem is, it's not him. Download the Star Reading app and read the latest chapter content without ads for free. My previous self was a handsome young man in his 20s who had been working for a while. But now, no matter how you look at it, this appearance is only the age of a high school student. This change left Shiyu in a daze for a long time. Don't tell him that the operation was a success. The body and appearance have changed. This is not a question of whether to have surgery or not, but of fairy art. He turned into a completely different person. Could it be that he crossed over by himself? In addition to the mirror on the bedside, which was obviously placed in a bad feng shui position, Shiyu also found 3 books beside it. Shiyu picked it up and took a look. The title instantly silenced him. Necessary Beast Breeding Handbook for Novice Breeders, Postpartum Care of Pet Animals, Guidelines for Evaluation of Alien Beast Eargirls. Shiyu? The titles of the first 2 books are quite normal. What's the matter with you in the last one? Cough. Shiyu's eyes were serious, and he stretched out his hand, but soon his arm stiffened. Just when he was about to open the 3rd book to see what it was, his brain suddenly felt a stabbing pain, and a large amount of memories flooded in like a flood. Icefield City. Pet Breeding Base. Trainee Pet Keeper. The website will be closed soon. Download the Star Reading app to provide you with the most powerful upgrade system. Beastmaster. Chapter 5788. Chapter 5788. Intuition told Long Fei that countless mysteries were held in this palm. It seems that as long as you figure out the secret of this palm, you can unravel the apocalypse. It must be like this. After reaching the unique realm, many decisions and thoughts will not be lost for nothing. Since I have this kind of guess at this moment, it must be related. A thought flashed, and Long Fei's figure exploded instantly, crossing nothingness, heading towards the place where the light appeared. But the moment his figure stood up, a force suddenly came from under his feet. That force is irresistible, as if pulled by the other side of time and space. Grass. Long Fei cursed loudly, secretly thinking that this power is not the right time. If it wasn't for the fear that if he forcibly cut off the contact, he might not be able to leave this era, which would cause even greater changes, but Long Fei really wanted to be desperate. But at this moment, he had no choice but to give up. There are too many entanglements on the other side of time and space, and he can't take risks. Thinking of this, Long Fei gave up resisting. In the next moment, a beam of light directly enveloped him, engulfing him. On the other side, the prehistoric world, inside Huayun Cave. The three emperors looked pale. It has even been said that it is infinitely close to a feeling of exhaustion. As for Nvois, her soul is on the verge of collapse. The atmosphere in the arena was extremely tense. Did he fail? Fushi looked helpless. Today is the 10th day. Their strength has been exhausted to the extreme. Especially Nua, who has reached the verge of death. A quarter of an hour at most. If Long Fei doesn't come back, Nua and they will die here. But they don't want to give up. Once they give up, it means that the human race has no hope. It means that what happened in the past will no longer exist. The past does not exist, so where does the present come from? I can't bear it anymore. Although I don't know what happened, but since the other party has not come back until now, it proves that there is an irresistible factor. Perhaps what he endured is more difficult than ours. Shen Nonghuang said. Long Fei is very strong, so strong that they need to look up to him. But they don't know what kind of existence it was in the ancient times. Moreover, what Long Fei wanted to do was not something that anyone with strong strength could do. To create a civilization and hide it in Sumeru, this method is miraculous, and it is not something ordinary people can do. Do your best and obey the destiny. If our human race is doomed to be burned in this life and go through the flames of war, then there will be another battle of the ancients. My human race will never die, and the fire will never go out. As long as one person exists, there is hope after all. Shenyuan Huang said. He is different from the two. He unified the human race by war. He never believed that the inheritance of the human race that stood between the flames of war would be easily destroyed. Emperor Shenong and Emperor Fushi did not speak. When it comes to the human race, the feelings between the three of them are the same. Otherwise, they would not trust Long Fei either. But now, it is still helpless after all. But they have no resentment in their hearts, and there is no turning back from the decision on this road. That's it, we are doing our best now. Fushi's eyes darkened. Has been unable to support. He glanced at Nua in the distance. He smiled miserably. At this time, Nua's soul is already dissipating. She used her soul to open this space-time channel, and now that the soul of life dissipated, it meant that the channel of time and space was about to be closed. Once it was closed, it proved that Long Fei could not come back. Emperor Shenong and Shenyuan also sighed in their eyes. For them, death is not afraid, it is even a kind of relief. They have been bound for endless years in this Huayun cave, and they have long been able to face death. The only regret is that this time it still failed after all. Poor Nua, she will also be scattered. The eyes of the three dimmed, and the fire of life and soul on Nua's body also began to extinguish. Desperation enveloped Huayun Cave. But at this moment, a ray of light suddenly flashed, breaking through the passage of time and space. And as the light fell, the space-time channel completely collapsed. Bastard, don't come sooner or later, why come at this time? Long Fei cursed. Intuition told him that the giant palm that appeared in the depths must involve a big secret. It's a pity that the success fell short. If it wasn't for the traction of the space-time channel, I would definitely go to see what happened. There must be some irresistible force pulling me back. It seems that I don't want me to see the mystery. However, did you stop it? I must find that palm. Long Fei thought to himself. But soon, he suppressed all kinds of thoughts. No solution anymore. Now that you've come back here, it's useless to think about it. Master, you are back. At this time a figure appeared. All three of Fushi's eyes were shining. The look of despair has also disappeared, leaving only surprise. In the nick of time, if Long Fei was one step slower, maybe they would really lose their souls. Long Fei said lightly, and then looked at Nuwa. Although the three of them were in a depressed state at this time, there was no life or death crisis. On the contrary, it was Nuwa, whose soul of life was already illusory and on the verge of collapse. In this case, he naturally wants to focus on Nuwa. With a thought, a majestic force erupted in the Huayun cave, enveloped in a mysterious aura, and fell directly on Nuwa's soul. The next moment, Nuwa's life soul exuded divine brilliance, shining brilliantly in the Huayun cave. And her soul began to recover. Perfect in the blink of an eye. But a strange scene happened, that is, Nuwa showed no sign of waking up. Even though her spirit has recovered at this time, she still closes her eyes tightly. What's going on? Long Fei frowned slightly. It doesn't feel right. He has absolute confidence in his own strength. The power to restore Nuwa's soul just now was pulled from his own soul. It is self-evident how powerful his unique soul is. If you really want to compare, it is above the way of heaven. But at this time, under this kind of power, Nuwa didn't react at all, and repeatedly fell into an unknown cage. Long Fei's face also changed. My lord, it should be due to the way of heaven. At this time, Fushi said. Long Fei turned his head with a little shock on his face. That's right, Nuwa is a sage of heaven. Although she had unparalleled merits and virtues when she became a saint, she was still subject to the supervision of heaven. She was able to open the space-time channel before, probably because she used the power in it. That is to say, although her soul has been restored, the most critical link is missing. Fushi said. He is the one who knows Nuwa best. Long Fei nodded. So that's the case, that's easy to say. I will untie the shackles between her and Tiandao. Long Fei said calmly. Now that he knew the crux of the problem, Long Fei would not turn a blind eye to it. As for the way of heaven, he didn't care about it at all. Moreover, if he returns now, the calamity between heaven and earth should be pushed forward a step further. Although Tiandao is irrelevant, it has been reduced to accompaniment during this calamity, but after all, this calamity happened in this world, and Tiandao itself will definitely understand it. Net Kenshuwu. With grave after coming for so long, Long Fei also wanted to see what kind of existence the Tao of Heaven is in this world. After endless coma, Shiyu suddenly got up from the bed. If you want to watch the latest chapter content, please download the Star Reading app, the latest chapter content without ads. The website has not updated the latest chapter content, and the Star Reading novel app has updated the latest chapter content. He took a big gulp of fresh air, his chest trembling. Confused, puzzled, all kinds of emotions came to my mind. Where is this? Afterwards, Shiyu subconsciously observed his surroundings, and then became even more at a loss. A single dormitory? Even if he was successfully rescued, he should be in the ward now. And my own body, how could there be no injuries at all? With doubts, Shiyu quickly swept his gaze across the room, and finally settled on a mirror by the bedside. The mirror reflected his current appearance. He was about 17 or 18 years old, and he was very handsome. But the problem is, it's not him. Download the Star Reading app and read the latest chapter content without ads for free. My previous self was a handsome young man in his 20s who had been working for a while. But now, no matter how you look at it, this appearance is only the age of a high school student. This change left Shiyu in a daze for a long time. Don't tell him that the operation was a success. The body and appearance have changed. This is not a question of whether to have surgery or not, but of fairy art. He turned into a completely different person. Could it be that he crossed over by himself? In addition to the mirror on the bedside, which was obviously placed in a bad feng shui position, Shiyu also found 3 books beside it. Shiyu picked it up and took a look. The title instantly silenced him. Necessary Beast Breeding Handbook for Novice Breeders, Postpartum Care of Pet Animals, Guidelines for Evaluation of Alien Beast Eargirls. Shiyu? The titles of the first 2 books are quite normal. What's the matter with you in the last one? Cough. Shiyu's eyes were serious, and he stretched out his hand, but soon his arm stiffened. Just when he was about to open the third book to see what it was, his brain suddenly felt a stabbing pain, and a large amount of memories flooded in like a flood. Icefield City. Pet breeding base. Trainee pet keeper. The website will be closed soon. Download the Star Reading app to provide you with the most powerful upgrade system. Beastmaster. Chapter 5789. Chapter 5789. The Prehistoric World, Above Nothingness, Xixiao Palace. In Xixiao Palace, Hong Jun stared at the front with pensive eyes. At this moment, he was restless. He has never felt that he is dignified, and he will fall into such a passivity one day. Especially just a moment ago, he could sense the changes about Newer in the Tao of Heaven. This also proves that that person is back. He is back. In other words, these people have failed. What that person said is really good, and nothing will change. Nshuwu. Awithgrave also, it seems that with his return, some memories appeared in my mind. Hongjuan's expression was extremely serious. It is even said that it is with fear. It seems that nothing has really changed, and everything that happened was preordained. Including that they traveled through time and space to go back to the past and want to snipe Long Fei. It was already predestined from the very beginning. Hong Jun had mixed feelings in his heart. Just a moment ago, the heavenly path trembled, as if some kind of early warning had occurred. Then he felt that the soul of one of the 6 heavenly saints was constantly trembling. Afterwards, many memories appeared in his mind. If this hadn't happened to him, he wouldn't have known that he had seen such a scene in the depths of his memory. That's right, what he saw was the scene of Long Fei devouring madly in the chaos, and then beheading Long Batian and others. www. Mtl Novelle. Com. It's just that this memory seemed to appear in his mind out of thin air, which made him extremely astonished. It's too terrifying. The existence of the heavenly Tao realm is like a chicken and a dog in front of him. He can be killed with a single sword. He was terrified, even though this memory had been cut off for eternity, it still made him terrified at this moment. Even if he is Tian Dao, he can't take it lightly at this time. That is the real power of destruction, which can kill him. But it's that person who is really scary. Hong Jun sighed, and the figure of Da Hai once again appeared in his mind. Although in the era when the chaos first opened, the sea was isolated from its own breath. But he is clear. The sea also went to that era. That's why the two figures overlapped in his eyes. Thinking of this, he felt powerless in his heart. My own way of heaven is coming to an end. This is Xixiao Palace. But that's all. At this moment, a voice suddenly appeared in his ears. Moreover, the voice was so ethereal that he didn't notice it at all. As for Hong Jun, the moment he heard the voice, he suddenly raised his head and looked towards the sky. He was too familiar with this voice, and the scene that was staged in his memory before resurfaced before his eyes. This is the killing god. In an instant, his spirit tensed up, his nerves tensed up, a chill rose from the bottom of his heart, and he felt the crisis surrounding him. After all, this is a master who kills without blinking an eye. In his eyes, the realm of heaven is like grass and trees, which can be destroyed with a single sword. While thinking about it, Long Fei's figure had already appeared in front of him. Poor Dao Hong Jun, I have met your excellency. Hong Jun took the initiative to get up, not daring to put on a posture. No, in front of Long Fei, he has no posture to speak of. Long Fei was stunned for a moment, looking at Hong Jun in such a posture. His eyes also had an unbelievable expression. This time I can't fix it for him. Originally, he wanted to let Hong Jun free Newer's soul from the heaven with an absolutely high-handed posture. Just do it if you don't accept it. But I didn't expect Hong Jun to play such a game for him when he came up, which made him collapse in an instant with the words he had prepared in advance. Are you sure you are Hong Jun? Long Fei asked back, with doubts in his eyes. It's illogical. Is a heavenly Tao so cowardly? The poor way is Hong Jun. Your Excellency's intention to come has something to do with Newer, right? Hong Jun asked. Long Fei nodded. The purpose of my coming will be discussed later. Can you tell me about you first? Are you sure you are Tian Dao? Is it Tian Dao Hong Jun? Hong Jun. Hearing Long Fei's words, the fear in Hongjuan's heart exploded even more. So ruthless, This person's mind has long been like a sword. He must be trying to arouse my dissatisfaction by saying this at this time. Once I showed any dissatisfaction, he took the opportunity to attack. Hong Jun slowly raised his head, looking at Long Fei from the corner of his eye. At this moment, he saw Long Fei's extremely complicated eyes. It was as if a certain plan had failed. Sure enough, that's what he thinks. But it's a pity, as the Tao of Heaven, I must be able to bend and stretch, and I must not give him a chance to get mad. Hong Jun thought in his heart. At this moment, he was extremely determined. That is the meaning of absolutely not disobeying Long Fei. No matter what he wants, he cannot raise objections, otherwise the result waiting for him will be extremely miserable. Thinking of this, he said, "Don't worry, Your Excellency, I am indeed Hong Jun, the heavenly Tao of this world. By the way, Your Excellency is a guest, and I will summon the heavenly Tao saint to clean up the dust for you." Hong Jun said, pointing in the sky. A red glow split open the sky and the earth in an instant. Long Fei. System, is this a fake? Why do I feel something is wrong? Long Fei was speechless. It was completely different from what he thought. He began to look at Hong Jun carefully. This heaven is a bit cowardly. This is his final decision. But how did he know that Hong Jun had witnessed his ferocity, and he would behave like this at this time? If he hadn't witnessed everything Long Fei had done, who would make him bow his head? Of course, Dahai and Longbation are also exceptions. Ding, the system has detected that this person has merged with this world. He is the way of heaven, and the way of heaven is him. As for why it is so afraid of you, the system does not know. The system responded. Afraid of me? Long Fei raised his eyebrows, sensing the key point. That's right, when the system said this, Long Fei also clarified Hongjuan's attitude at this time. He is afraid of himself. Are you afraid of me? Long Fei asked. Hongjuan's expression froze. The smile on his face also froze. Murder and murder. He's still testing me, trying to force me to explode. But I can't. As the Tao of Heaven, I must focus on the overall situation. Hong Jun thought to himself. The next moment, he laughed sarcastically. Your Excellency has already touched the level of Tao. I, Hong Jun, have superficial cultivation, and I respect you very much. Hong Jun said. He felt that his life would be worse than death. I have already bowed my head to such an extent by myself, it is unexpected that Long Fei still refuses to let him go. Hearing these words, Long Fei couldn't calm down. Very good. WP. KA with Macron SH5. Net after a long time, Long Fei sighed. But it's okay, since he showed such a gesture at this time, the next thing he has to do is much simpler. In that case, then I won't talk nonsense. This time, I want to ask you for someone, is that okay? Long Fei asked. But what Long Fei didn't expect was that Hong Jun, who had shown all before, shook his head repeatedly at the moment Long Fei's voice fell. Long Fei's face darkened. What? You don't want to? After endless coma, Shiyu suddenly got up from the bed. If you want to watch the latest chapter content, please download the Star Reading app, the latest chapter content without ads. The website has not updated the latest chapter content, and the Star Reading novel app has updated the latest chapter content. He took a big gulp of fresh air, his chest trembling. Confused, puzzled, all kinds of emotions came to my mind. Where is this? Afterwards, Shiyu subconsciously observed his surroundings, and then became even more at a loss. A single dormitory? Even if he was successfully rescued, he should be in the ward now. And my own body, how could there be no injuries at all? With doubts, Shiyu quickly swept his gaze across the room, and finally settled on a mirror by the bedside. The mirror reflected his current appearance. He was about 17 or 18 years old, and he was very handsome. But the problem is, it's not him. Download the Star Reading app and read the latest chapter content without ads for free. My previous self was a handsome young man in his 20s who had been working for a while. But now, no matter how you look at it, this appearance is only the age of a high school student. This change left Shiyu in a daze for a long time. Don't tell him that the operation was a success. The body and appearance have changed. This is not a question of whether to have surgery or not, but of fairy art. He turned into a completely different person. Could it be that he crossed over by himself? In addition to the mirror on the bedside, which was obviously placed in a bad feng shui position, Shiyu also found 3 books beside it. Shiyu picked it up and took a look. The title instantly silenced him. Necessary Beast Breeding Handbook for Novice Breeders, Postpartum Care of Pet Animals, Guidelines for Evaluation of Alien Beast Eargirls. Shiyu? The titles of the first 2 books are quite normal. What's the matter with you in the last one? Cough. Shiyu's eyes were serious, and he stretched out his hand, but soon his arm stiffened. Just when he was about to open the 3rd book to see what it was, his brain suddenly felt a stabbing pain, and a large amount of memories flooded in like a flood. Icefield City. Pet Breeding Base. Trainee Pet Keeper. The website will be closed soon. Download the Star Reading app to provide you with the most powerful upgrade system. Beastmaster. Chapter 5790. Chapter 5790. In an instant, the entire Xixiao Palace seemed to collapse at this moment. Even though it carried Hongjuan's law of heaven, the change of Long Fei's aura still caused the law of heaven to collapse and cracks appeared. Hongjuan's expression changed drastically. Wait. He hastily waved his hands. Don't be impatient, Your Excellency. I know the purpose of your coming, but I can't promise you, but it's for your own good. Hongjun said quickly, finishing in one breath. He didn't even dare to pause in his voice. I was afraid that if I was a step slower in speaking, it would make Long Fei unhappy and kill him. He even felt that he was now in a race against time. In the scene back then, this was the one who didn't agree with each other, and immediately started to kill. Say, give me a reasonable explanation at the end. Otherwise, I'd like to see what it's like to kill a heaven realm. Long Fei said. Hongjun secretly cursed in his heart. Sure enough, it was here waiting for him. Shuwu. With grave, I also want to see what it feels like to kill one. You are not satisfied with killing more than 100, right? Hongjun thought in his heart. But he absolutely dare not say such words. Slightly pondering, he said, I know that you are here for Nua, but if you strip her soul from the way of heaven, it will really cut off her retreat. Although I am the way of heaven, but Nua, he is also my disciple. Hongjun said. Long Fei sneered. The way of heaven is ruthless, but at this time Hongjun played fan love, which made Long Fei a little at a loss for a while. www. TL Novelle. Com. La, get to the point, don't test my patience. Long Fei's expression was cold. It's mainly because Your Excellency is here, so I want to give you a big gift. Help Nua to escape. Hongjun said. Loud and resolute. There was even an expression of extreme longing on his face. It seems that helping Nua to escape is what he has been looking for in his life. And Long Fei's heart was also shaken. Detachment. He naturally knew Nua's true strength at this time. Although she was a sage of heaven, she relied more on the power of heaven. Without the support of heaven, they would not even be considered unique, but only pseudo-unique. So at this time Hongjuan's words moved Long Fei very much. After all, Nua is also his woman at this time. www. TL Novelle. Com. If he could let her take that step, Long Fei would naturally enjoy it. Tell me, how can she transcend? Long Fei asked. Hongjun heaved a sigh of relief. Seeing Long Fei's expression at this moment, he knew that Long Fei had moved and would not attack him at this time. Sure enough, I'm still better at chess. Hongjun felt a little proud in his heart, feeling that he had already walked on the verge of death. After pondering for a while, he continued, Your Excellency should know the cultivation system of this world. Although Nuwa is a sage of heaven, she is using a trick. In addition to her merits, her soul enters the heaven. But in fact, her merits are only to promote the development of the human race in this world, and they are bestowed by the heavens, which cannot be counted. As Hongjun said, he paused slightly and looked at Long Fei. Long Fei was expressionless. Of course, he didn't have the slightest doubt about Hongjuan's words. He naturally knew what was going on behind the merits of Nua's creation of human beings. That has something to do with me. The civilization of the human race appeared because of me. And then, Long Fei asked. So, if Nuer wants to transcend, she must cut off her own obsession. Hongjun said. Long Fei was taken aback. Obsession? Suddenly he thought of the principle of sanctification in the prehistoric world, which is to cut off the three corpses. The three corpses are the good corpse, the evil corpse, and the obsessive corpse. Hongjun observed his words, saw Long Fei's reaction at this time and guessed what he was thinking, and continued, the so-called obsession is the corpse of your obsession. Only if she takes this step by herself can she be detached. If you forcibly make a move, or if I make a move to strip her soul from the way of heaven, it will be absolutely impossible out of her way. Long Fei listened, and his face became ponderous. There is no way to refute. With Long Fei's insight, he naturally knew that what he said was true at this time. But this involves another problem. What you said really tempted me, but Nuer is unconscious at this moment, how can she escape? Long Fei asked. If Nuwa is awake, he is naturally willing to let Nuwa try. But now that Nua's soul has an accident, if there is no return of the soul in the heaven, it will be difficult for her to wake up, let alone cut off the three corpses. No, although your excellency has outrageous means and is in charge of killing and destroying, but caring makes chaos. The reason why Nuwa can't wake up is not because of the destiny soul in the way of heaven, but because she has fallen into obsession at this time. In other words, she also wants to transcend herself. If she didn't perceive this, Pindao wouldn't dare to tell your excellency this. Hongjun said. Long Fei Tong Kong shrank. Caught in obsession? He asked back. His eyes locked on Hongjuan's expression. But he saw Hongjun nodding his head firmly. You mean, if Nuwa can't cut off her obsession, then she won't be able to wake up? Long Fei asked, with worry in his eyes. Hongjun nodded, and said, that's right. However, I can allow you to integrate into the Tao of Heaven, wander above the order of the Tao of Heaven, and enter Nua's obsession. When he said this, Hongjun was extremely serious. Although it's a shame for him. It's a great adventure. After all, he is the way of heaven. If Long Fei is allowed to integrate into the Tao of Heaven, it means that he will withdraw from the control of Tao of Heaven. If Long Fei has any thoughts, he will be expelled directly. But in order to be able to stabilize Long Fei, he felt that it was worth doing all this. Moreover, he is also aware of the competition between Long Fei, Da Hai, and Long Batian. They are the absolute masters of this world, and when the calamity breaks out, the one who can truly control the fate of the prehistoric world must be one of the three of them. But at this moment, Long Batian has been ruled out by him. And the sea is extremely mysterious, as if it doesn't care much about everything. That's why he chose Long Fei. Integrate into the Tao of Heaven? You don't think you want to do something secretly, do you? But at this time, Long Fei's voice came leisurely. Hongjun, tired. Destroy it. He felt that Laro Fei was targeting him, and even wanted to kill him. What he didn't know was that Long Fei had already started in-depth communication with the system at this time. Long Fei, system, if I merge with the Tao of Heaven, will I lose my initiative? System, no, on the contrary, it's Hongjun who has to be more frightened. At that time, you will be above the order of the heaven. If you want, you can directly expel him from the heaven. Long Fei, so, he is the one who should be worried? But why did he do this? In all fairness, I set off the conferred god calamity, won't he target me? System, I don't know. In an instant, Long Fei had already analyzed everything from the system's mouth. Therefore, even the eyes have become complicated. It's hard to understand what Hongjun is trying to figure out. After endless coma, Shiyu suddenly got up from the bed. If you want to watch the latest chapter content, please download the Star Reading app, the latest chapter content without ads. The website has not updated the latest chapter content, and the Star Reading novel app has updated the latest chapter content. He took a big gulp of fresh air, his chest trembling. Confused, puzzled, all kinds of emotions came to my mind. Where is this? Afterwards, Shiyu subconsciously observed his surroundings, and then became even more at a loss. A single dormitory? Even if he was successfully rescued, he should be in the ward now. And my own body, how could there be no injuries at all? With doubts, Shiyu quickly swept his gaze across the room, and finally settled on a mirror by the bedside. The mirror reflected his current appearance. He was about 17 or 18 years old, and he was very handsome. But the problem is, it's not him. Download the Star Reading app and read the latest chapter content without ads for free. My previous self was a handsome young man in his 20s who had been working for a while. But now, no matter how you look at it, this appearance is only the age of a high school student. This change left Shiyu in a daze for a long time. Don't tell him that the operation was a success. The body and appearance have changed. This is not a question of whether to have surgery or not, but of fairy art. He turned into a completely different person. Could it be that he crossed over by himself? In addition to the mirror on the bedside, which was obviously placed in a bad feng shui position, Shiyu also found 3 books beside it. Shiyu picked it up and took a look. The title instantly silenced him. Necessary Beast Breeding Handbook for Novice Breeders, Postpartum Care of Pet Animals, Guidelines for Evaluation of Alien Beast Eargirls. Shiyu? The titles of the first 2 books are quite normal. What's the matter with you in the last one? Cough. Shiyu's eyes were serious, and he stretched out his hand, but soon his arm stiffened. Just when he was about to open the 3rd book to see what it was, his brain suddenly felt a stabbing pain, and a large amount of memories flooded in like a flood. Icefield City. Pet Breeding Base. Trainee Pet Keeper. The website will be closed soon. Download the Star Reading app to provide you with the most powerful upgrade system. Beastmaster. Chapter 5791. Chapter 5791. The two fell silent. Hong Jun endured the humiliation in his heart. I am a god, why have I ever bowed my knees so lowly? And Long Fei also had his own ideas. He was a god, how could he become a licking dog? This is unreasonable. However, this state did not last long and was soon broken. It was broken with the arrival of the 5 figures. As soon as the 5 people arrived, their expressions changed suddenly when they saw the 2 people facing each other in the field. Of course, more shock came from Long Fei. Who is this person? Can he sit on an equal footing with Master? How dare you face Master directly, how courageous. Where did this fierce man come from? Is this provoking the authority of heaven? The world is crazy and it's getting more and more chaotic. Reading books, they have different thoughts, but the only thing they have in common is their fear of Long Fei. It's absolutely unusual for someone to be able to pose in such a posture in front of Tiandao, and they couldn't sense Long Fei's aura. This shows that Long Fei's strength is already far above them. Long Fei just glanced at a few people indifferently, then withdrew his gaze. Hong Jun took advantage of the situation and said, since you don't believe it, you might as well take a look at them. They are all people whose souls have entered the way of heaven. You can try to strip their spirits from the way of heaven. Then you will know what I said was true. Long Fei, you are really good at it. Use your apprentice's wealth and life to lick it. The Taishang and others obviously didn't know what was going on, but when they heard that Hong Jun had actually asked Long Fei to strip their souls of heaven, they all had confusion in their eyes. Because they have the soul of the way of heaven, they are considered saints. If they don't have this kind of power, then they will come down from the position of saints, and without the power of saints, it will be difficult to survive in this world. After all, a catastrophe sweeping across the prehistoric land is about to happen. Under such a calamity, they themselves are already extremely difficult, and it is difficult to escape from it. If there is no support from the power of heaven now, they will also fall into catastrophe. Life and death will be difficult to control themselves. In an instant, the faces of several people became extremely embarrassing. Master, what do you mean? Master, what did I do wrong? Master, absolutely not. Now that Fengshan Liangji has been invaded by thieves, their means are not weak. At this time, you must not take risks, Master. At this time, one person said. Long Fei frowned and looked at the other party. Ding, player, he is scolding you. The system said. A with a cute 5. Net I know. Long Fei responded. Then what are you waiting for? Haven't you been looking for an opportunity to make a move? This is the opportunity. The system responded. Long Fei. Are you so cruel? I am speaking the truth, although I am looking for an opportunity to show my hand, so that Tiandao can retreat in the face of difficulties. But since entering here, Tiandao's performance has been quite satisfactory, and there is no reason for him to make a move. But now the system is right, this is an opportunity. His eyes sank, and a chill appeared in Long Fei's eyes. But the moment he was about to speak, he froze. Because without waiting for him to make a move, Hong Jun sanctioned him for speaking up. When Hong Jun moved one hand, Jirin's body was directly blocked by chains. On this chain, there is the meaning of divine punishment. Presumptuous, you are still here as a teacher, it's your turn to speak. You are only a sage of the heavenly way, and being a teacher is the way of heaven. Now you dare to do it for you, do you still want to be a teacher in the future? Hong Jun snorted coldly. Immediately, the heavenly chains were like long whips, flashing with lightning and fire, whipping on Jiring's body time and time again. No. Master, why is this? Jirin never had such an idea. A series of changes will lead to Da Meng. He had no idea why he had such an innocent disaster. Didn't the decree come down before to target the people in the world of cholera? Isn't what he said now exactly his previous will? Why is it now that he has become a big rebel? No. MPH, I see that's what you're thinking about right now. You think that as a teacher, you don't know your plan, and you want to take advantage of the God conferred to measure calamity, to open up your civilization, and make your Western religion the mainstream of enlightening the world. Why, now that you see the changes in conferred God quantity calamity, you want to replace me and carry out your teachings? Hong Jun snorted coldly. Hearing this, his face turned pale. The others were even more silent. They were deeply shocked by the scene they saw. Never thought it would be such a result. Today's Hong Jun doesn't look a little bit like the supreme ***** of heaven, like a shrew cursing the street, but he doesn't care about his status at all. KS double. Net at the same time, they also realized that the problem was wrong. Subconsciously, they set their eyes on Long Fei. Under the current situation, there is one and only one possibility, and it must be related to Long Fei, which made Hong Jun act like this. And Long Fei's identity is naturally ready to be revealed. For a while, everyone fell silent. A single guess made them silent like cicadas. Especially Jiring, who has a bitter look on his face at this time. How could he have imagined that the person standing in front of him now was actually Cholera, the rightful lord of the gods, the thief he called himself? Long Fei was also shocked by the sudden scene in front of him. This is really watertight. Just as he was about to make a move, Hong Jun did this kind of thing, even going so far as to personally take action against him. Your Excellency, now is the opportunity. I will deprive him of the body of a sage of the heavenly Tao, strip him of his soul, and you will be integrated into the Tao of heaven, and then you can enter the world of Nua's obsession. Hong Jun said. Long Fei remained silent. I always feel that Hong Jun has bad intentions. Ding, congratulations to the player for triggering the system task, surpassing the laws of heaven, and gaining insight into the fundamentals of the wild. While Long Fei was thinking about how to make a choice, the system's voice suddenly appeared. Long Fei was taken aback. There was a bit of disbelief in his eyes. System, are you kidding me? The task is triggered at this time? Besides, didn't you say that the task has disappeared? Long Fei wanted to refuse, but Hongjuan's attitude was a bit ambiguous. It's unbelievable that a heavenly Tao can lower his attitude to such an extent. The more so, the more suspicious Long Fei felt. But when the system triggered the task at this time, it caught Long Fei by surprise. Ding, the system doesn't know what's going on. Originally, even the mission function has disappeared, even if I repaired it, it didn't recover, but at that moment, it seemed that an inexplicable force poured in, and then triggered the system mission. And, irreversible. The system responded with an unprecedentedly serious tone. A deep light appeared in Long Fei's eyes. He knows the system too well. If it was a task issued by the system would definitely not say such a thing with such a gesture. But at this time he was so dignified, which is enough to show the seriousness of the situation. Irreversible? What will happen if I don't answer? Long Fei asked. Ding, if you don't answer, The player's cultivation will be sealed forever, just like the power sealed in your body at this time. Even if you are the only one, immortal, you can no longer use your power. The system responded. Chapter 5792. Chapter 5792. The words of the system shocked Long Fei, and then fell silent. It was like being imprisoned in an inexplicable cage. It turns out, someone can manipulate the system. This is something he never thought of. Moreover, from the words of the system, it can be clearly seen that even the system is ignorant of this power. Could it be the person who created the system? Long Fei thought to himself. The person who created the system was in the place of origin. Could it be because he entered the place of origin that he attracted their attention? But in a flash, Long Fei felt something was wrong again. My own system seems to be inextricably linked to the sea. Could it be that the sea is the one doing the tricks? As Long Fei thought about it, his eyes became even more serious. Ding! Congratulations to the player for accepting the task. Mission objective: to be in harmony with the way of heaven, to gain insight into the root of the prehistoric world. Mission time: 3 days. Mission reward: calamity energy. The energy of calamity, it can greatly increase the power of calamity. Net mission punishment: banning cultivation. The sound of the system appeared one after another. And Long Fei also fell into restlessness. This quest comes inexplicably, and the quest requirements and rewards seem to have a deep meaning, which is completely different from before. The emergence and rewards of the previous system tasks were all to improve oneself. But this time, it seemed to be leading him in a certain direction. But there is no way, now the task has appeared, and it is irreversible, and now it has been automatically accepted, all I can do is to complete it. Thinking of this, he said, I promised you. Since you are so sincere in inviting me, if I refuse you again, I will lose face. Long Fei said. Hongjuan's expression eased, as if a boulder in his heart had finally landed. Okay, I will strip off the soul of this traitor. Hongjuan said. He made up his mind that there must be no conflict with Long Fei, so he did not hesitate to sacrifice to lead. Jirin seemed to realize this at this time, and bowed his head without saying a word, as if he had resigned himself to his fate. But at the moment Hongjuan was about to make a move, Long Fei stopped him. No need, it's meaningless to enter the way of heaven. Since you want to do it, you should be thorough and fit the way of heaven. Long Fei said, and then looked at Hongjuan. This is not a temptation, since the system task requires it, he can only do it. What surprised him was that when his voice fell, he thought that Hongjuan would become angry. After all, the prerequisite for him to be fit for heaven was to squeeze him out. But Hongjuan didn't show this kind of performance, he just froze for a moment, and then a gleam burst out of his eyes. Shuwu. With grave Your Excellency, are you serious? Hongjuan's voice was a little trembling, and his emotions were extremely complicated, with a bit of disbelief in his anticipation, as if this was not a calamity for him, but an opportunity. Long Fei was dumbfounded, and looked at Hongjuan with a frown. Hongjuan's reaction was beyond his expectation. You seem to be looking forward to it. Long Fei asked. I don't dare to hide it. From the moment I fit into the Tao of Heaven, I wanted to get out of it all the time. This kind of eternal life, this kind of supremacy, is more like a cage. Moreover, as time goes by, my thinking, my humanity and my ego are slowly being assimilated, as if they have become the rules themselves, Hongjuan said. Long Fei Tong Kong shrank. What the hell? I thought that doing this would embarrass Hongjuan, but only now did he realize that he was really thinking too much. There's no embarrassment here, it's clearly here to give benefits. Hongjuan has waited countless years, and now he is about to rescue him from the sea of suffering by such a mistake. Moreover, Long Fei did not doubt that Hongjuan's words were false. The eagerness and expectation in his eyes was very real in Long Fei's eyes. If you say that, it's still dangerous to be in harmony with the Tao of Heaven. Long Fei said in a deep voice. For Pindao, it may be a tribulation. But for Your Excellency, it may be an opportunity. Hongjuan said suddenly. How to say? Long Fei asked back. After I fit into the Tao of Heaven, I would occasionally be inspired by a certain will. But it was a bit of a trick for me to become the Tao of Heaven, so I didn't dare to approach that summon of will at all. But your excellency is different. Your strength has already surpassed the way of heaven, you have entered the great way, and you have become the law of incarnation. Therefore, with your strength, you can explore what kind of existence that will is. Hongjun said. Long Fei pondered. Although Hongjun is in harmony with the way of heaven, in terms of strength, he is also tantamount to the only realm. Although there is still some gap with myself, it is not an easy generation. But the more so, the more curious Long Fei was. What is the existence that can exude its own will, which makes Hongjun so afraid? All of a sudden, Long Fei felt curious in his heart. Seeing Long Fei's expression, Hongjun already knew that Long Fei was tempted, and quickly said, I once guessed that this will occurred in the prehistoric world itself, as if in this world, there is a place that the Tao of Heaven has never controlled, and that will emanates from it. Long Fei looked at Hongjun. At this moment, he suddenly thought of the picture he saw in the ancient times. Countless stars fell, and the place where it fell was the prehistoric world. Reminiscing that he didn't find any strange aura in the world wrapped by his divine sense before, Long Fei began to guess in his heart that maybe that place had a great connection with what Hongjun said at this time. Thinking of this, Long Fei didn't have any reluctance in his heart. It's really interesting. If that's the case, get out of the way of heaven, I'll do it. Long Fei said domineeringly. No matter what, pretending to be like the wind is always with me. Especially when Hongjun lowered his posture so much in front of him, how could he miss it? But at this moment, Hongjun had a bitter expression on his face. Your Excellency, I don't know. Although I have tried countless times to escape from the Tao of Heaven, I have never succeeded. It seems that Tao of Heaven is a cage that requires special power to open. Hongjun said. Long Fei was taken aback. Special power? Ding, players can try to use Jie Yin's power. At this time, the system suddenly interrupted. Long Fei's eyes lit up. If possible, perhaps only this kind of power can undo the shackles of heaven. In the next moment, his palm moved, and an unexplainable force that could not be seen directly appeared in his hand. Is it this thing? Long Fei asked. Cannot wait for any response. The entire Zixiao Palace suddenly collapsed in front of him. Not only that, all of the supreme heavenly Tao saints showed horror on their faces, and even Hongjuan's eyes showed great fear. Long Fei quickly held his hand. He also didn't expect that Jie Yin's power would be so powerful that it would make them reveal this expression. This is the seed of heavenly robbery. Hongjun let out a horrified expression, even looking at Long Fei's expression changed. Chapter 5793. Chapter 5793. Regarding Long Fei, he knew much more than the Taishong and others. The conversation between Dahai and Long Batian did not shy away from him. At that time, he knew that Long Fei was absolutely unusual. Even, it is related to a big secret. This is also the fundamental reason why he is willing to make the previous gesture. But at this moment, his fear became instinctive. The moment Long Fei showed this kind of power, he understood how terrifying Long Fei was. With this power alone, he can collapse the heavens in an instant. Heavenly tribulation seed? Long Fei repeated, but it was a question. Hongjun nodded. That's right, any world will have its own rules from birth. And above the rules, there is a calamity. A with a cute 5. Net, that's what it means to end the void and come up with a calamity. It seems to be a force born to destroy the rules. Whenever there is a deviation in the operation of the heavens, the calamity will come. Hongjun explained. Long Fei's expression was serious. I never expected that the power I felt in a single thought had such a big background. Born to destroy rules? Sounds like a dick. Then can this power undo your heavenly shackles and free you from it? Long Fei asked. Hongjun nodded heavily, with endless expectations in his eyes. Of course, if you can't even do it with this kind of power, I'm afraid there is no power in the world that can do it. Hongjun gave an affirmative answer. He didn't expect that he would see hope at this moment for what he had planned for countless years. It can only be said that happiness came too suddenly. Okay, then I'll try it. Long Fei said. Simply decisive. Since this power is feasible, there is nothing to hesitate. After all, this mission is only 3 days long, and Nua is also involved in it. My lord, please follow me. Hongjuan's attitude became more respectful, and even his title changed. But at this time he was not dissatisfied in the slightest. After all, whether he can escape from the Tao of Heaven is entirely in Long Fei's hands at this time. Without any hesitation, Long Fei followed Hongjun into the endless void with a flash of his figure. Soon, the two passed through endless nothingness and came to a mountain range. This is a mountain born from nothingness. It is filled with the charm of heaven, and it is extremely rich. The way of heaven is invisible, but after I fit into the way of heaven, I felt that there must be a place to live, so I made the way of heaven concrete. And here is Tiandao Mountain. As Hongjun said, he pushed away the clouds and mist, and presented the face of Tiandao Mountain in front of Long Fei. Long Fei was amazed. It is also a talent to visualize intangible props. Now my body is in the heavenly Tao Mountain. It's ridiculous to say that I concretized the rules of the heavenly Tao as a mountain of the heavenly Tao, but I was bound in a cocoon and painted the ground as a prison. It's not just me, it's the same with Nua and their spirits at this time. WP. KA with Macron SH5. Net and the rules on Tiandao Mountain are the cages, which make it impossible for us to break free. Hongjun said bitterly. This can be said to be the choice he regrets the most. Back then, in order to be able to suppress the riots in the ancient times and conform to the meaning of the Tao, he opened the first robbery of the Dragon and Han dynasty, and he also took advantage of the situation to become the Tao of Heaven. But this is not a gift, but a constraint. Since then, he has no relationship with detachment. Even with the power beyond heaven and earth, he is still a prisoner, powerless to change. Throughout the ages, he has been thinking about getting out of the shackles of the heavens all the time, but there is nothing he can do. But he didn't expect that now, by accident, Long Fei would want to replace him, so he naturally couldn't wish for it. Long Fei heard Hongjuan's explanation. Digu also appeared in my heart. I finally understood why Hongjun agreed so readily before, and now his feelings are like helping him out of the sea of suffering. But things have come to this, no matter what, Long Fei will naturally go out at this step. Okay, since that's the case, just leave the rest to me. Long Fei said. Didn't flinch. Not only is it a system task, but more importantly, he suspects that the special existence that Hongjun mentioned is very likely to be related to the place where the stars fall, and if he wants to find that place, he must be in harmony with the way of heaven. First step. Hongjun folded his hands and retreated. The moment Long Fei's figure disappeared, Tiandao Mountain also disappeared out of thin air. Long Fei remained calm. No surprises. After all, this is the power that Hongjun embodied, not the real existence of the Tao of Heaven. The way of heaven is invisible, it is a rule, and it is supreme. It is also because Hongjun has integrated the way of heaven that he has the power to visualize the way of heaven. But Long Fei naturally has his own means. As Hongjun said, the way of heaven is a prison. If you compare him to a prison, Hongjun and others are just prisoners. But Long Fei is different. Long Fei controls the tribulation seed of the heavenly Tao, which is equivalent to controlling the key of this prison. In other words, he is the one who controls this prison. With one thought, Long Fei took out the power of Jie Yin and presented it in his hands. Boom boom boom. Suddenly, the nothingness in front of him became restless, and countless forces intertwined vertically and horizontally, as if they were latitude and longitude. Countless regular lines intertwined to form a space standing in nothingness. And this is the most fundamental manifestation of the way of heaven. Long Fei stepped forward and approached directly. The next moment, the power of Jie Yin in his hand seemed to burn like a flame, and then directly merged into the illusory space in front of him visible to the naked eye. In an instant, streaks of light and shadow floated out of it. It is the soul that Hongjun and others have integrated into it. Even, including Nua. It's just different from the others. Nua's soul is in a state of deep sleep, and her expression is extremely tangled, as if she is stuck in a quagmire and cannot extricate herself. Long Fei frowned, feeling a little unusual. Thank you, my lord, for taking the shot. Hong Jun had endless joy on his face. He fits the way of heaven, and he is the most essential him at this time. Originally, he was extremely afraid of Long Fei, but now because Long Fei escaped from the sea of suffering, he has infinite respect in his eyes. As for the Tai Shong class, they have a dazed expression on their faces. Even a look of confusion. What's the matter with Nuer? Long Fei ignored Hongjuan's words and asked directly. My lord, Nuer has fallen into obsession. If I'm not mistaken, the change of her soul should have something to do with what I said, the will beyond that day. Hong Jun explained road. Is it related to that place? What's going on? Long Fei was even more puzzled. Several heavenly sages are fine, why only Nuwa would fall into this state, which makes the public fee puzzled. Hong Jun shook his head. Frankly speaking, he didn't know why this happened, and what he said was just his own speculation. Now that Long Fei showed so much concern for Nuwa, he naturally didn't dare to talk nonsense. At this point, Long Fei's eyes narrowed into a line. It seems that there are some things that I can only understand after I am in heaven. He said lightly, then ignored Hong Jun and the others at all, and stepped into the space woven by the rules of that day's Tao in one step. Chapter 5794. Chapter 5794. Rules have always been illusory, at least, that's what Long Fei thought before he stepped into the space woven by the Tao of heaven. But when he entered it, he realized that he was wrong. Heaven also has its own consciousness. The moment he entered this space, a voice suddenly appeared in his mind. You finally came. The voice was tired, as if it had been waiting for too long, it was always waiting for Long Fei. Are you waiting for me? Long Fei felt incredible. Long Fei felt inexplicable. Why do I suddenly feel like a heartbroken man, and the other party is looking forward to it? But Long Fei swears that although he has been a soaring lunatic, it is the spirit of the ancient world and has nothing to do with this prehistoric world. Of course, I have been waiting for you for countless years. That voice appeared again. Are you the Tao of heaven? Long Fei asked again. Getting an affirmative answer from the other party made Long Fei feel inexplicably terrified. You know, it's the first time he's trying to think of the way of heaven, why suddenly it seems like he has done something before. That's right. I can't say what kind of existence I am, but I have appeared since the opening of the sky. I witnessed with my own eyes that you created the world, killed many powerful people, and watched you leave from me. At that time, I wished you could stay, but unfortunately, there was a person who was too terrifying and directly suppressed my consciousness. Even if I wanted to ask you to stay, I didn't have the strength. The voice of heaven appeared again. Long Fei. Long Fei felt his mind was blank. What the hell? Create heaven and earth. Kill a lot of horror beings. That's what I did. That's what he did. Did you recognize the wrong person? Long Fei frowned. This way of dialogue made Long Fei feel out of place, as if the two of them were not on the same channel at all. No, I will always remember your breath. But it's normal that you don't remember those things. That terrifying existence sealed your power and memory, and told me, let me guide you to do something. The voice of heaven said. Hearing this sentence, Long Fei's expression froze instantly. In an instant, his heart swelled and his eyes became heavy. He has always felt that he has lost some memories. Although he doesn't know exactly what memories, he feels that those are extremely important to him. Knowing this news from Tian Daoku at this moment made Long Fei more certain that the memories he had lost must have great significance to him, even related to the apocalypse. Since you said you witnessed everything, then tell me, what happened back then? Also, what kind of existence is that terrifying existence you mentioned? Long Fei continued to ask. He desperately wants to know everything. The person behind him controls absolutely terrifying power, not only can control his own memory, but also can change the system. If this kind of person doesn't know who it is, his life and death will not be guaranteed. However, at this time, the voice of heaven suddenly fell silent. I didn't speak again. Long Fei frowned, and looked around. What do you mean? Didn't you say that I created you? If so, you still have to hold back on me. Long Fei's tone was not kind, feeling that fate was being dominated. Suddenly, he thought of a more terrifying possibility. Maybe this system task at this time is at the mercy of that person. This is horrible. That's why he wanted to know who it was. Sorry, I can't do it. I don't know the reason. I can clearly remember those pictures, but I can't express them. It seems that there is an inexplicable force swaying me. The voice of heaven continued. Is there power around you? Long Fei gasped, feeling more and more shocked and horrified. Is it the sea? Or the owner of that terrifying hand? Two figures flashed in Long Fei's mind. In his impression, only these two existences might have such power. If it's the sea, it's okay. After all, the sea has been laid out for too long and too much. If it really has been laid out in this world, there is no surprise. www.kahu5.net. That's right, that power is very mysterious, above the rules. It's like what you human beings often say about me alone. Yes, in the face of that kind of power, the rules have to bow their heads. The voice of heaven continued to speak, and even his tone became a little trembling. Long Fei was silent for a moment. Then what did he ask you to guide me? Long Fei asked. He said let you become the way of heaven, let you become the rule, and then go find the place where the stars fell. The voice of the way of heaven responded. When Long Fei heard this, Tong Kong shrank. Sure enough. WP. KA with Macron SH5. Net. My system task is indeed related to that power. Thinking of this, Long Fei said, then what should we do? He didn't resist. If you want to get the answer, you must go down this road. Even if it was the path planned by the other party, he had no retreat. As long as I recognize you as the master, I was born because of you. As long as I recognize you as the master, you are the master of the way of heaven, and you are the master of the rules of this world. At that time, I will naturally be able to use the identity of the way of heaven, to perceive that place that has existed forever, but is not seen between heaven and earth. The voice of heaven continued. Long Fei's eyes also changed suddenly. So simple. As long as you recognize yourself as the master. Isn't this a free door-to-door benefit? The rewards for this task are still extremely rich, and the energy of the robbery is exactly what he needs, but it is too simple. He thought he would have to go through a lot of trouble, but he didn't expect that it was just to let the other party recognize the master. Moreover, the other party kept saying that it was because of him that he was born, as if he was waiting for his arrival, and then recognized himself as the master. This kind of coincidence, the traces are too obvious. It seems that you don't worry about me discovering it at all. Long Fei chuckled lightly. But after a moment, his eyes became indifferent. Okay, if that's the case, then I'll follow this path later, and I want to see who it is. But what Long Fei didn't know was that at this moment in the galaxy of nothingness, the sea was leaning against the beach, enjoying the afternoon sun leisurely. www.mtl novel. Com. La. Of course, this world was naturally transformed by their power. Beside him is Long Batian. But at this time, Long Batian looked extremely stable, as if he had experienced something that would be unforgettable to his heart, and he was no longer as arrogant as before. Brother Hai, do you think Long Fei is really capable of turning the tide? Why do I feel that he is going in the opposite direction? Long Batian took a puff of his cigar and said calmly. And when he mentioned Long Fei, he was extremely calm, not filled with righteous indignation like before, let alone killing intent or fighting for power. It seemed that he had given up on the contest with Long Fei. I don't know, just like everything you do is destined, what he does must be done. I just used some means to guide him. As for how far he can go, it depends on himself. Dahai said, lifting it in his hand. Clatter. A colorful fish as dazzling as a star river took the bait. Chapter 5795. Chapter 5795. The screen turns. The moment the spirit of heaven recognized the Lord, Long Fei felt his heart move, and a power of absolute control emerged in his heart. It is no exaggeration to say that he is now the Lord of Heaven. The whole prehistoric world seemed to be just in his mind. Is this the way of the heavens? Long Fei sighed slightly. This power is awesome. No wonder even Hong Jun and the Sage of Heavenly Tao couldn't resist the temptation. They would rather give up their freedom to have this power. At this moment, Long Fei felt a supreme feeling, as if when he thought, it can control the lifeline of the prehistoric world, and it can be seen in one's eyes at 4 o'clock, day and night. What's more, if he wants to, he can arbitrarily decide the fate of the prehistoric creatures. But Long Fei didn't have such a bad taste. Although this sense of control was very mysterious, it was of no use to Long Fei. He is truly the only one, after great freedom. He is detached above the heavens and worlds, so how could he be confused by this nihilistic power? In just a moment, his mind was withdrawn. Since I am in harmony with the Tao of Heaven, why can't I still perceive Nua's thoughts? Long Fei asked. Master, Nua's divine soul is now in name only. This thought has been attracted by the will of that place and has been immersed in it. Although it still exists now, it has been separated from the main body. The Spirit of Heaven responded. Long Fei was taken aback for a moment, and his heart sank. He did all this largely because of Nua. But now, fortunately, the system actually told me that Nua's soul has been split, and there is no connection with the main body. Doesn't this mean that what I'm doing now is completely meaningless? All of a sudden, Long Fei felt angry in his chest, as if he had been tricked. However, the master can enter that piece of heaven and earth. If he can find the obsession of Nua's spirit, maybe he can destroy his obsession and let Nua's spirit return. The Spirit of Heaven seemed to sense Long Fei's anger, said quickly. Long Fei nodded. It's better to be like this, otherwise the whole prehistoric world will wait to be buried with you. Long Fei's voice was cold. He was never a saint. If it wasn't for him, Nua wouldn't have risked herself, and naturally she wouldn't have fallen to the present situation. Furthermore, Nua is his woman, and with his temperament, if he can bring Nua back if he overturns the world, he doesn't mind doing so. After finishing speaking, Long Fei also withdrew his mind, and he began to calm himself down, to perceive the special place mentioned by the Spirit of Heaven. Time passed quietly. It took Long Fei half a month to perceive this one. But within half a month, Long Fei didn't perceive any possibility of the existence of other wills. KS double. Net, could it be a trap, right? So much trouble is spent just to confuse me and force me to conform to the Tao of Heaven? But the Tao of Heaven is not a prison for me at all. As long as I think about it, I will be able to do it with just one thought. Can get out of this state. Long Fei woke up and began to think. Net, no way, he was short of time. It has been half a month now, which made him feel anxious. Master, it seems that the will is also avoiding your existence. But there are still 3 days at most, and they will definitely appear. While Long Fei was meditating, the voice of the Spirit of Heaven appeared again. How to say? Long Fei asked. Although that place is hidden, it exists only by relying on this side of heaven and earth. And in 3 days, when the wheel of heaven restarts, just like the alternation of day and night, when the restart starts, that place will also appear, and there is nowhere to hide shape. The Spirit of Heaven explained. With a cute 5. Net, he naturally knew everything about Long Fei. The wheel of heaven restarted? What does this mean? Long Fei asked. He was stunned. Regarding the wheel of heaven, he has naturally noticed it. This thing is like a gear, constantly rotating, and above it is the foundation of all order, controlling the operation of the prehistoric world. But if this thing is restarted, doesn't it mean that all order and rules will collapse? Wouldn't the prehistoric world be plunged into chaos by then? To put it simply, it is the baptism of rules. Many rules and orders will continue to change according to changes in the world. For example, before, the witches and monsters ruled the world. When they were destroyed, the heavenly gears experienced a restart. Tiandao's spirit explained. Long Fei realized something in his heart. In this way, it means that the catastrophe of heaven and earth will lead to changes in the rules of heaven and earth. And every reboot represents an era. Thinking in his heart, Long Fei's mind was shocked. So, the restart in 3 days will be the beginning of the great calamity? Long Fei asked. Yes, This is an inevitable process under the operation of the rules. It's just that this time there are some differences. The Spirit of Heaven said. It used to be a fixed number, but now because of the appearance of the Master, the rules and order have become chaotic. This restart can only represent the change of the world, but there is no direction, and the next era cannot be set. The Spirit of Heaven said. Long Fei nodded. He didn't have the slightest doubt about this. But also normal. Whether it's him or Hailong Batian, since they decided to come like a catastrophe, the order of that day's Tao cannot be controlled at all. Then tell me, can I intervene forcibly? Long Fei asked. Now that the order is in chaos, the future is not a foregone conclusion, but if he forcibly intervenes, and then specifies the rules, it will be fine to directly make Ying the master of the era. Impossible. Master, you will fight in the next era. If you make a move, it will lead to even greater changes. The Spirit of Heaven repeatedly denied it. Long Fei's face darkened. God's shit, ***** is useless. You thought you could do it in secret? I didn't expect it to be up to me in the end. Long Fei said. Spirit of Heaven. What a big pot. Can I say that my own strength is not enough? But I dare not. Long Fei was not entangled in this issue. He also knew that there was Dahai, and with Dahai's terrifying means, if he really made a move, Dahai would be able to detect it immediately, and might kill him directly at that time. Suppressing all thoughts, Long Fei continued to perceive. 3 days passed in a flash. Just at the moment of the 3rd day, Long Fei felt that the entire order of heaven collapsed in an instant. Brush. Long Fei opened his eyes instantly. Spirit of the Tao of Heaven, what's going on? Didn't you say it's just a restart? Why is everything crashing now? Long Fei's face was heavy. Originally, he could still monitor the prehistoric world, and capture the prehistoric world in a single thought. In this way, even if something happens in the prehistoric world, it cannot be hidden from his eyes, and he can react at any time. But now, the order of heaven and earth has completely collapsed, and even if he fits the law of heaven, he can't perceive any information about the prehistoric world. Master, a major event has happened. This time it is not a restart, but the will, which appeared directly, replaced it, and expelled us. The Spirit of Heaven panicked. Long Fei. At this moment, tens of thousands of cow Nima galloped past Long Fei's heart. I thought I was a hunter, but in the end, I was the prey. Chapter 5796. Chapter 5796. The sudden change made Long Fei feel angry. He never thought that it would end like this. I was still busy hunting here, but I didn't expect to be robbed directly. Then how to remedy it now? Long Fei asked. Now Long Fei felt as if the world had turned upside down. Originally, he was still in charge of the light and controlled everything, but now he was sunk in the darkness all of a sudden. This reversal happened in an instant, so fast that Long Fei didn't even react. He didn't even have any sense before, and there was no sign of the whole reversal, and everything was reversed in an instant. I don't know either. The Spirit of Heaven responded, the calmness before was gone, and the voice was full of panic. Obviously, he is also extremely afraid of this kind of power. He is different from the system, he is a spirit body with autonomous consciousness, so it is not surprising to show such emotions. Long Fei, have no idea? Don't make trouble, you are the Spirit of Heaven, you and I don't know now? Master, I really don't know, and my existence seems to have no right to influence the other party. The Spirit of Heaven said. Long Fei was taken aback. Not eligible? What do you mean? To a certain extent, the Spirit of Heaven itself is a kind of rule, a kind of order, which itself represents the supremacy of a certain existence. But now the Spirit of Heaven actually said that he is not qualified to influence another kind of power, which surprised Long Fei. Master, in fact, I have always had a guess, but I didn't tell you before. The Spirit of Heaven said in a low voice. What guess? Long Fei asked. I suspect that the existence of that will is above the prehistoric world. It's not that they are lurking in the prehistoric world, but that the prehistoric world is in the other party's package. The spirit of heavenly Tao said www. Tl Novelle. Com La Long Fei's eyes shrank instantly, and he fell silent. Suddenly, he thought of the scene he saw in the ancient times. That is a picture of wandering outside the prehistoric world. He saw the decaying stars fall. It was just a quick glance at that time. Before he had time to explore, he was summoned back by the power of time and space. But now that the spirit of heaven said this, Long Fei instantly connected the two. If you say that, I've been caught in a misunderstanding. Long Fei said after pondering. He always thought that the place where the stars fell was in the prehistoric world, or in other words, it was the prehistoric world. But now it seems that his thinking has been biased. But if it is said that the existence is above the prehistoric world, why should it turn to control the prehistoric world at this time? Long Fei said. This is what he doesn't understand. If it is said that the place where the stars fall exists outside the prehistoric world, or controls the prehistoric world, then there is no need to control it the other way around. The spirit of heaven was silent, not daring to make a sound, so as not to affect Long Fei. If it doesn't make sense, it's just like me now. If I were to say it the other way around, I would never do it if I were asked to lose an existence under the only one. Unless I have reached the point of life and death, I have no choice. Long Fei was talking to himself, but suddenly fell silent again. All of a sudden, he seemed to have grasped some key existence. Between life and death, there is no choice. In an instant, Long Fei's eyes lit up. Ah Ling, do you think there is a possibility? You said that the hidden will is about to die, and now it is desperate, trying to survive with the help of the prehistoric world. Long Fei said. This. The voice of the spirit of heaven was shocked. He never thought of this possibility. But at this moment when these words came out of Long Fei's mouth, he didn't have the slightest doubt. Not impossible, but very possible. Since this will exists and is extremely ancient, it proves that he already has his own consciousness. With consciousness, there is the possibility of not being erased. It is even said that the opponent is already at the end of his battle. He can only reverse now, and at this moment is to seize the prehistoric world as the basis for his own survival. Thinking of this, Long Fei felt a sense of enlightenment www. Tl Novelle. Com but on second thought, Long Fei felt helpless in his heart. Despite some guesses, his current situation is too embarrassing. After the reversal, his soul power seems to be imprisoned, and he can't even perceive any cognition from the outside world. I don't know what's going on in the prehistoric world now. If it's a restart, it's the opening of the prehistoric calamity. Now that the way of heaven is expelled and ruled by that will, what will happen? Thinking of this, Long Fei felt even more gloomy. After all, the prehistoric world now has many entanglements with him. At this time, the prehistoric world. At that moment when the will ruled the prehistoric world, several figures came out of nothingness. It's a very familiar atmosphere, as if there is someone who is important to me here. One of them said, I also have this feeling, but it doesn't matter, no matter who it is the past for us. When we return from death, it is already a new life. Moreover, the adults said that if we want to truly exist, we must to obliterate the way of heaven in this world. Another voice responded. You go first, there is another me here. It's not low, it should be my body. I want to find this existence, and then kill him, so that my power can truly reach the unique state. Immediately afterwards, another voice appeared. And her appearance is actually the same as that of NUWA. Of course, if Long Fei was here, he would be even more surprised. And, maybe there will be tears in my eyes. Because all the people who appeared here at this time were people he was familiar with. There is even an existence that he wants to resurrect with all his heart. It's just a pity that at this time, Long Fei was sunk in darkness and didn't know everything. And on the other side, above nothingness, Hong Jun was wandering back with a few saints. And at this moment, fear appeared on their faces. This is not the way of heaven. Where is the way of heaven? What kind of breath is this? Why does it feel so weird, full of decay and death? Teacher, what happened to this? Why is there such a will above heaven and earth? What about heaven? Several heavenly saints looked flustered. Hong Jun was taken aback for a moment. But soon, as if he had thought of something, his expression was stunned. He failed. Has changed hands now? But how is this possible? Even the existence of the sea can't be controlled, and Long Batian even travels through time and space to snipe and kill. He failed to drink hatred, so how could he fail? Hong Jun was completely panicked, his whole face was bloodless. He used to be fit for heaven, so he naturally knows something that others don't. At this time, I thought of a certain possibility, and I couldn't calm down anymore. And at this moment, he suddenly felt a gaze suddenly fall on him. Immediately afterwards, a voice appeared. Want to live? Come to Tiandao Mountain to see me. In an instant, Hong Jun fell into an abyss. Chapter 5797. Chapter 5797. Above a galaxy of nothingness. The two figures stood side by side. But suddenly, the figure of Long Batian got up, and his eyes swept directly to the direction of the prehistoric world. Long Fei's aura has disappeared. He frowned. Dahai had already told him some of his plans, so he naturally knew about Long Fei's fit with the Tao of Heaven, but even so, he could still catch Long Fei's aura. But at this moment, Long Fei's breath disappeared instantly. When it comes to their existence, as long as a person exists between heaven and earth, they can capture a thought. In particular, Long Fei is also the only realm, the only body in the world, and there is a special energy between the heaven and the earth. www. Mtl Novel. Com la. However, at this moment, the aura about Long Fei suddenly disappeared without a trace. Hai also frowned slightly, his gaze became heavy. What? Isn't this your plan? Seeing Dahai's expression, Long Batian was also puzzled. No. In my plan, it was Long Fei who devoured this will. But, to my surprise, this will can turn against the guest and suppress Long Fei. Dahai said in a deep voice. Long Batian raised his eyebrows. What will? Even Long Fei can be suppressed. That kid is so heaven-defying, how can he still be suppressed? Long Batian was shocked and couldn't believe it. You don't know anything about that existence. Dahai shook his head and said softly. What exists? Long Batian's face changed again. He knows the sea too well, and the power of the sea is even more unfathomable, reaching an indescribable level. But that's it, it can be seen that he is so dignified towards another existence at this time. The Lord of everything returns to void, said the sea. Long Batian. He wanted to ask a question. How many years should he be sentenced to be clear? It's that simple, who knows what it is? However, Dahai didn't mean to explain. He got up slowly, stepped out, and his figure disappeared into the galaxy of nothingness. And the direction he was going. Nature is the prehistoric world. Long Batian hesitated for a moment, and then did not stay, turning into a stream of light and heading towards the prehistoric world. And at the same time, in the prehistoric world, in the Yin Shong Hall. What's the matter? A Long Fei is so terrifying. What is this now? Why does it feel like a butcher's knife is hanging on his head, and he will be killed at any time? Di Shin's expression was extremely embarrassing. Right now, he feels extremely depressed. It was as if an inexplicable force had locked him in, as if a pair of eyes were monitoring his actions. And there is Ying who also feels this way. Above the nether sea of blood, in the fairyland. Ying also fell into silence. Net Long Fei, your aura has disappeared. But I believe that you will not die. Ying looked up at the sky, pondering in his heart. He more or less knew something about Long Fei. Then he even used his own detachment method to deduce something when Long Fei returned to the ancient times through time and space. It was also because of this that he had absolute confidence in Long Fei, and he did not believe that Long Fei would disappear inexplicably. And at the same time, he could feel that he was being watched at this time. Great Emperor, what happened? Why do you feel restless? Bai Qi finally spoke. He had been waiting by Ying's side for a long time, but seeing that Ying still kept silent, he asked. It's okay. Ying didn't say. He could guess that the power monitoring him did not target Bai Qi and the others. In other words, only the existence of the only realm is monitored by that power. What he cares about is only the existence of Xion in this world. Bai Qi raised his head and wanted to say something more, but finally fell silent. Jiyu knows what you want to say. Do you think this world is extremely scary, and my fairy country is struggling here? Ying asked. Bai nodded. Facing Ying, he couldn't hide all his thoughts. This time the conquest of Yin Shong made him feel unprecedentedly difficult. Although he didn't make a move, his cultivation base has reached this point after all, and the difference of one step is already the only realm. Therefore, he knew better how powerful Ying was. That is a peerless existence. But this time, his face lacked the unparalleled aura of being the great emperor of the fairy kingdom in the past, and he was often silent. In addition, he felt an extremely terrifying aura enveloped him before. Although it disappeared in an instant, it was extremely real. So at this moment, he hesitated in his heart. He even had a feeling that terrible changes were about to take place in this world. If he continued to stay here, even the great emperor would be in crisis. A with the cute 5. Net as a strong man who has stepped out of killing and fighting, he is not afraid of life and death. But what Ying carries is a world. If there is an accident, the Fairyland world may collapse. Don't worry, the widow has already made a plan. Ying said. Immediately afterwards, the immortal kingdom in the palm appeared in his hand. Long Fei has a problem. When he summoned the widow, the so-called system he gave has disappeared. However, the widow has obtained the power to return to the Fairyland world from Di Xin. You also know the law of the fairy kingdom in the palm. You take the fairy kingdom away. I still want to see what is the mystery of the things here. Ying Chen said in a deep voice. Of course he refused to leave. Everything that happened here gave birth to the idea of fighting in his heart. In the Fairyland world, he is already detached and the supreme existence. But here, it gave him a sense of oppression. He has not experienced this feeling for a long time, and now he naturally wants to try again. Bai Qi was taken aback, but dare not refute. He understood Ying's temperament, and at this moment he felt the long-lost sense of conquest in Ying's body, which he had never felt when he was in the Fairyland. Emperor, let Wang Jian take people back. I want to follow the earth and fight another city. His eyes were sharp, and his fighting spirit rose. The conquest on Ying's body stimulated him, and made him want to try to see if he could go further. Ying shook his head. There is no need to take any risks. If Long Fei succeeds this time, the world will undergo tremendous changes. The Fairyland world will also change accordingly, and the opportunity for you to transcend will also come into being. And if an accident happens here, the world of Immortal Kingdom will be unavoidable. Letting you go back now is also a backup for the widow. If something unexpected happens, you should be prepared. Ying said. He had a feeling in his heart. The survival of the heavens depends on Long Fei. If the dragon flies into success, the 10,000 realms will live another life. If Long Fei fails, the myriad worlds will go to nothingness. Saying this at this time is just to comfort Bai Qi. In his heart, even if he is doomed to destruction, he will be at the forefront. Hearing this, Bai Qi didn't say any more. He knew that after handing over, he took over the immortal kingdom from Ying's hands. Go home. In an instant, Ying's voice fell. Without giving Bai Qi too much time to react, he directly cast the method and sent Bai Qi and the entire Fairyland back together. In an instant, a passage leading to nothingness appeared, and then slowly disappeared. Then, Ying slightly closed his eyes. The dispute begins now. Come out, let me show you, what is the power that can suppress Long Fei. Chapter 5798. Chapter 5798. A figure slowly walked out of nothingness. But Ying Zheng's expression suddenly sank. The aura of this figure is extremely strange, as if it is not in the world. An alternative detachment. Ying whispered. Sensing the aura in front of him, Ying's face became unprecedentedly solemn, even deeper than when facing Di Xin. As expected of the only existence outside the territory, You can see through me at a glance. The visitor said. Her voice was extremely cold. Like walking out of an abyss, with an indifference that ignores the world. But if Long Fei was here, he would definitely feel shocked. Because she is exactly the Yi Yorong he has been looking for. Ying said nothing. The other party's intention was unknown, and he didn't want to take the initiative to probe. He fought for hegemony with the fate of the fairy kingdom, and then conquered fate, so he naturally understood a truth. When the two armies confront each other, whoever speaks first will be the weaker one. Get out of the way, my lord admires you very much, and he will undoubtedly make things difficult for you. And since you appear here, you should know that a catastrophe will soon come to this world, and even your home world will be implicated. And the Lord is the only one who can change everything. After a while, Yi Yorong finally spoke first. So? Ying asked. That's why my lord hopes that you can cooperate with him, and only people who have reached your level are qualified to cooperate with an adult. Yi Yorong responded. Ying narrowed his eyes. This is recruitment. Contempt appeared in his eyes, even Long Fei had never spoken in such a gesture. As the great emperor of the immortal kingdom, he has his own pride and is unparalleled in the world. It was precisely because of this that Yi Yorong's words at this time made him feel nameless anger. Let me cooperate with him? Then let him come. As for you, although you are also transcending the realm, but relying on external forces to transcend, the widows don't pay attention to it. Ying said. Recruit him? That is impossible. How could the majestic great emperor of the immortal kingdom be inferior to others? Even Long Fei once disrespected him, so why should he? Yi Yorong's face darkened, and displeasure appeared on his cold face. What's wrong with the external force? The power of an adult is the most essential power. Even if you surpass your fate, you can't catch up. As for asking an adult to come to see you in person, you don't have the qualifications yet. Yi Yorong said. The voice fell for a moment. Her figure suddenly disappeared above the void. Then, an extremely terrifying and strange force enveloped the entire void. Clatter. The endless sea of blood began to roll at this moment, and the waves of blood surged into the sky, like gods and demons howling. Ying's expression changed. But in an instant, his expression recovered and he became calm again. www. Mtl Novel. La, the great emperor of the immortal kingdom, beyond fate, naturally has his means. He turned sideways and dropped a punch out of nothingness. Boom. A punch fell from nothingness, and the entire sea of blood suddenly shook, and all the huge waves disappeared instantly, and the soul-stirring wailing sound also disappeared. This is Fist of Fate. With one punch, it was like breaking the destiny, and everything returned to calm. And at the same time, the strange aura that enveloped this place also disappeared, and the void instantly became clear. But Ying's face was not relaxed. He knows. This is just the beginning. And such power is just a temptation. Yes, it is worthy of being an existence beyond fate, very strong. But if you think that you have the capital to compete with adults, you are wrong. Yi Yorong's figure reappeared. The next moment, a long sword appeared in her hand. Net the breath above the long sword is even more strange, wrapped in death, surging with the emptiness of the extinction of all things. As if this is a sword forged in death, with the power to return everything to nothing. Cut. Yi Yorong's voice was cold. And as his voice fell at this time, there was no light between the entire sky and the earth, and the sky turned into darkness in an instant. It is darkness without any light. The sea of blood turned black. Everything merges in darkness. Is this his power? The power to return everything to ruins? Ying's voice came from the darkness. But in the next moment, a bright light suddenly appeared. Then, that point of light magnified instantly at a speed that the naked eye could not capture. Then for a moment, the sky and the earth were illuminated. But this kind of returning to the ruins does not include the only one. Ying's voice is domineering, with an attitude of self-importance. Rumble. In the next moment, the entire world roared, as if the world had been reopened, with unparalleled power. And the darkness, under this force, was also impacted, and disappeared in a blink of an eye. Yi Yorong's figure also reappeared between heaven and earth. Ying Lidi was empty, still in the original position, motionless, as if invincible. Yi Yorong still maintained the posture of drawing the sword, but at this time the expression on her face became more dignified. As if facing Ying at this time, she finally had a feeling that she couldn't compete. Www. Mtl Novel. Com. Do you want to continue? Ying asked. Yi Yorong was silent. I'm not afraid of you, I just don't want to destroy this world. This world is the basis for my lord to reverse the apocalypse. After a while, Yi Yorong said. So, are you still fighting? Ying continued to ask back, showing the posture of the emperor of the fairy kingdom. Yi Yorong narrowed his eyes, and an endless chill appeared in his eyes. However, in the end, she didn't make another move after all. After taking a deep look at Ying, she turned and left, disappearing into this world. Ying stared speechlessly. All things return to ruins, he murmured, and there was a kind of powerlessness in his voice. And such a scene also happened in another place. That is Chowga. Nine-tailed fox. Di Shin looked at the beautiful figure standing in the air with surprise in his eyes. At this moment, he even suspected that history was repeating itself. No, it should be back on track. The nine-tailed fox came to destroy his wealthy businessman. But soon, he denied this guess. The nine-tailed fox in front of him is not from this world. The current situation in this world has become the only battlefield. Under the only circumstances, even the former heavenly Tao saints are cannon fodder. I'm the Tushan family, not the nine-tailed fox you mentioned. But, I don't mind justifying her name and destroying your wealthy businessman. Above the void, nine tails floated in the void with a cold tone. You can't do it. Also, please find out who I am before you make a move. If you want to fight, I don't mind rectifying the name of Yin Shong. First, kill a nine-tailed fox to make an example of others. Di Shin has been perfectly substituted, although he appeared in this world because of the sea. But he knew that the world had undergone tremendous changes today. He has no choice. No matter what force it is, he will resist it. And this is also the task of the sea. But fortunately, being backed by the sea gave him some confidence. Is it important who you are? The words are brought to you. 3 days later, Zhou Xiao will return to the ruins palace. If you don't go, you will die. The figure in the void said, but soon, her figure disappeared. Di Shin looked at the disappearing shadow of the other party. His eyes were extremely serious. He never thought that it would become so complicated. Chapter 5799. Chapter 5799. At this time, in the Sea of Blood. Ying's expression changed again. Because after Yi Yorong left, another figure appeared in front of him. Moreover, this figure is not inferior to Yi Yorong. But this is not the point. The point is that he is not unfamiliar with this woman, even very familiar with her. Because this person is newer. No, it should be said that she looks exactly the same as newer, but her breath is much stronger than newer. You are not my target. My target is a person under the sea of blood. She is my body and I want to take it away. Newer said. No. Ying Dandan replied. There were only 2 words of indifference, but he expressed his will extremely resolutely. No. Newer's expression darkened. She didn't expect Ying to be so overbearing. Yes, it's just not possible. The widow is here, and no one can touch anyone here. I said this, no one can. Ying responded domineeringly, not afraid of everything, as if he had become the patron saint of a sea of blood. Net Newer's face was gloomy. She stared at Ying firmly. WP. KA with Macron SH5. Net what if I must? NUWA's breath was even more terrifying. There was already anger in her heart. She didn't want to be enemies with Ying. But she knows that she is just a body of obsession. If she can't devour the body, she will never be truly unique. You cannot. That person couldn't do it before, and you can't do it either. Ying was even more determined, not willing to give in at all. Long Fei is not here, so he naturally wants to protect everything here. After all, This is also his belief. If he chooses to give up because the world is turned upside down at this time, it will make his Tao heart collapse. The complexion of Nvoir's obsessive body kept changing, but in the end she still didn't dare to make a move. It seems that you have chosen to be an enemy of the adults, so let's see, you can live for a few more days. Nvoir's obsessive snorted coldly, then turned and left. And with the departure of Nua's obsession, a sense of urgency finally appeared in Ying's eyes. In one day, 2 invincible beings came here. If they join hands, I may not be able to stop it. Fortunately, they have some scruples and dare not make a move in this world. Ying thought in his heart. But it's not a long-term solution. Once the existence behind them takes control of this world and can move me out of the world at will, then the real crisis will come. And my only chance is to unite. Thinking in his heart, Di Xin came to Ying's mind. This is his first Waterloo since his detachment. But at the same time, it also convinced him that Di Xin would not give in. No matter who Di Xin was before, if he was an emperor, he would not be a subject, and he would die unyielding. Thinking of this, Ying's figure suddenly flashed and disappeared into the world. After Ying left, in the palace under the boundless sea of blood, Qingying felt sad www. Mtl novel. Com she is heartbroken. When the world turned around, he could no longer feel Long Fei's aura. For a moment, the fear and worry in my heart broke out, and tears couldn't help falling down. Long Fei, is something really wrong with you? Her eyes are slightly red. On the side, Tianxin didn't say a word. Although she didn't know what happened, but seeing Qingying's state at this time, she also guessed something in her heart. I'm going to find my brother. After a long time, she seemed to have made a decision and spoke. Qingying set her eyes on her. What do you want to do? If he is dead, then what's the point of this world? My brother has suppressed the destructive power of countless epochs, enough to collapse this world. If this world is destroyed, it is naturally considered revenge for him. Tianxin said. If Long Fei was here, he would definitely be shocked. The heart of heaven is even good by nature. In Tianren village back then, even if the people in Tianren village treated their brothers and sisters like this, she didn't feel any resentment. But at this moment, she was full of killing intent. It can be seen how much the disappearance of Long Fei's breath has affected her. Qingying was silent, wanting to say something, but finally chose to remain silent. After a long time, she said, "That's right, if Long Fei is gone, then what's the point of existence in this world, even if it is destroyed?" Tianxin nodded without hesitation. The figure flickered and disappeared under this endless sea of blood. But at this time, outside the sky in the prehistoric world, 3 figures stood in the void. They are the sea, the dragon baton, and the apocalypse. At this time, the eyes of the sea kept flickering. Looking at the prehistoric world that has changed now, confusion appeared in his eyes for the first time. Looking at the sea in this state, Long Batian also realized the seriousness of the problem. Is Long Fei really dying? Long Batian asked. He knew how much Dahai had poured into Long Fei. If Long Fei really died under the darkness, it meant that everything Dahai had done would be in vain and become a dream. I don't know, it's just that I can't feel his aura in this world at this time. Even if he is not dead, he will be plunged into endless darkness at this moment. And that world will be a place without life. Dahai said. Obviously, he knew what kind of existence Long Fei was replacing now, and also knew what kind of world Long Fei had fallen into. So it is also clear that Long Fei is extremely dangerous now. Shouldn't it? Long Fei survived so much and survived so much. Can he be stumped this time? Long Batian still couldn't believe it. But there was a lot of sadness in his voice. I don't know. Everything still depends on him, Dahai said, with helplessness in his eyes. This is the biggest variable in history, beyond his control, and this kind of power has not been calculated in his layout at all. Of course, it's not that he doesn't know the existence of this power. Rather, this kind of power is outside his control, and even he cannot intervene. In other words, facing the changes in this prehistoric world at this time, he simply couldn't intervene. Long Batian also fell silent. His eyes also gradually turned cold. Is it possible to kill it? As long as this existence is wiped out, Long Fei might have a few more chances, Long Batian said. For some reason, Long Fei's aura disappeared at this time, and he was trapped in the jail, which instead gave him a feeling of sadness in his heart. Moreover, he knew that the future of the universe and worlds rested on Long Fei. If something really happened to Long Fei, then everything would be irreversible and would eventually be destroyed. Impossible. The other party also knows Long Fei's origin. Now that he has made this choice, he obviously wants to keep Long Fei in the dark. He thinks that Long Fei is the root of everything. As long as Long Fei is destroyed, it is tantamount to destroying. Dahai explained. Then what kind of existence is this? Long Batian became more shocked the more he heard it. It was the first time he had seen Dahai so unconfident, even admiring others. This is a creature derived from the land where the stars fell. Among the heavens and worlds, there are only 3 kinds of existence that can make me feel helpless. One is the pillar of creation, and the other is the abyss of ending. Dahai said. Is there another one? Long Batian asked. The other one is Long Fei. Chapter 5800. Chapter 5800. At this moment, the sea no longer hides. Long Batian. Kong Yuan, the child of Long Batian, opened his eyes wide. He finally realized why Dahai was so fond of Long Fei when he heard Dahai's words. Why did Long Fei not die even after he calculated so many things? It can make Hai feel helpless, which is enough to prove how terrifying Long Fei's roots are. But at this level, no matter how scary it is, it's useless. He fell silent and did not speak again. He also felt extremely difficult, and he couldn't even look at the problem with a normal state of mind. But at this moment, Tian Qi on the side suddenly said, "My sister is here." As he spoke, Tian Xin's figure slowly walked in front of everyone. "Brother, destroy it, I'm tired." Tian Xin didn't say much, looked at Tian Qi with sad eyes, and said calmly. Tian Qi was taken aback for a moment, and immediately understood why Tian Xin made such an expression. Why is he not? Although it is said that they have been chasing the sea. But he knew how much Long Fei's kindness to them was. Of course, he also knew why Tian Xin found him. Because he was in that world outside the Eternal Land, and what he practiced was the way of destruction. Although it has been so long, he still has that kind of power. He looks out to sea. Dahai smiled helplessly. It's not that pessimistic, and Long Fei is not dead, so there's no need to go all out now. Dahai said. Tian Xin's eyes were flushed, but Master's aura has disappeared. The sadness that Tian Xin showed at this time touched the sea. He knew that at this level, he was already used to seeing life and death, and he would not show such emotions unless he was a close relative. He also felt depressed. More than anyone else, he hoped that something would happen to Long Fei. Only he knows that what Long Fei is concerned with now is not about himself, but about the existence of the whole world. You have to have confidence in him. If he died so easily, then why should I work so hard to do this? Dahai said. He knows the tricks of apocalypse. After all, Tianqi's control of this power was also in his calculations. But there is one thing he hasn't said yet, that is, even if Tianqi uses that kind of power, it is impossible to destroy this piece of world. It is true that he has such power, but this world is no longer something he can pry. He wasn't the only one after all. Originally, if he had followed his plan, Tianqi would have taken that step in the conferred God world, but now that such a change occurred, it could only be stranded. Then what do you mean, Master is still alive? Tian Xin asked, the sadness on her face still couldn't be suppressed. Of course, how could he die so easily? Just wait and see, I believe Long Fei will be able to stand up in a short time. Dahai said. Even now that there is no longer any trace of Long Fei in the world, he still has confidence in Long Fei. At this time, in the endless darkness. Darkness is the eternal melody, as if separating the heaven and the earth, it is a silent abyss, apart from being able to feel the spirit of heaven around him, there is nothing else, not even any breath. It is not an exaggeration to say that he is now blind. Can you believe it? He can sweep the world outside, But now he is struggling, and he has lost his senses even outside the radius. Heaven, what the asterisk is this broken ground? Long Fei's voice was a little irritated. Here, he no longer has the concept of time. This feeling is extremely terrifying. Time means everything to him. Now that he is trapped in this world, unexpected changes must have taken place outside. In other words, the longer he was trapped, the more variables there would be in the outside world. At this time, the prehistoric world has already carried the core of his destruction of the apocalypse. If he can't break the situation as soon as possible, if the world changes by then, it will be more difficult for him to change and reverse. Master, I don't know. The spirit of heavenly Tao said. He could feel that Long Fei's aura was very manic at this time, but he was helpless. Even though he had been a heavenly Tao and felt this power many times, he didn't know anything about it. What's the use of you? Long Fei said. Long Fei was extremely annoyed. I can't help but feel a little regretful in my heart. If it wasn't for Hongjuan's old **** going through it back then, this situation would never have happened now. Chuwu. With grave, and if he was in the prehistoric world, even if something irreversible happened, he would have the confidence to deal with it. But now, he is completely powerless. Master, I think that kind of power must be afraid of you. If it is not like this, there is no need at all. When changing, replace it quietly. If the other party really has the means to suppress everything, there is no need to do so. The spirit of heaven said suddenly. Long Fei was taken aback. These words reminded him. He forced himself to calm down. Yes, quietly. It's impossible to reverse without making a sound. Even if you turn your palm back, it will leave traces. Long Fei's eyes lit up. WP. KA with Macron SH5. Net. Let's not talk about what kind of existence this power is, nor whether it is afraid of itself. But since everything changes silently, it is impossible for this change to leave no trace. There are only two possibilities for the reason why I perceive silence. Either the other party really has power far beyond his own, or I am now caught in a misunderstanding. Nothing has changed, or is still changing. Thinking of this, Long Fei asked, Heaven, tell me, is there a possibility that nothing has changed and we are just wrapped by some kind of power? Long Fei said, the more you think about it, the more possible it is. The spirit of heaven also said before that he could not perceive the existence of the other party. Perhaps there is a possibility that the prehistoric world is in the package of the other party. Combined with the picture of the falling stars that I have seen before. He had this guess in his mind. Yes, the master is right. Now I also feel the same way. I feel that the previous power was suppressing and allowing the prehistoric world to exist freely. But now, he has really spread his power and deprived the prehistoric world www. Mtl Novelle. The spirit of the Tao of Heaven responded with an extremely excited voice. When Long Fei said this, he also felt that there was only one possibility. Long Fei pondered for a while. Now that he has such a guess, it's easy to talk about the next step. I am most afraid of the unknown. In one thought, countless pictures appeared in Long Fei's mind. He was thinking, what is there that can suppress the power of a unique realm so thoroughly? Suddenly, a brilliance flashed in his mind. Suddenly a light appeared. Coffin. At this moment, he thought of the only burial place. That is the end of the unique realm, even if it is the only one in all ages, even if it is the only one in the world, even if it is beyond the heaven and the earth, as long as you enter it, you will lie under the graveyard after all, and there is no possibility of coming back. And now that's the case. Chapter 5804. Chapter 5804. Under the Sea of Darkness, waves of blood rolled. The endless river of Styx is still endless, surging with a terrifying sense of oppression. Above the Styx river, Ying's figure sat cross-legged in the void. When he is here, no one dares to offend. Whoosh. At this time, a figure came to him. It was Qingying. Qingying has always known about Ying's existence, but has never really communicated with him. Especially with the disappearance of Long Fei, the ancient world suddenly changed, and there was not much intersection between the two sides. But at this moment, Qingying couldn't help but worry too much. She couldn't trust Long Fei at all, so she could only step forward at this time. "What do you want to ask?" Ying Ziran sensed Qingying's arrival in an instant and asked. "Is he still alive?" Qingying's voice was choked with sobs, even though she was already the first person to reach transcendence, infinitely approaching the realm of transcendence. "But when it comes to Long Fei, I can't help but feel sad." Ying was silent for a moment, looked up at the inexplicable light and darkness of the sky, and said, "At least he is still alive. If he dies, this world may no longer exist." Ying's expression was extremely determined. He knows more than others. He even knew information that Dahai and Long Batian didn't know. And this is what he learned from the robbery he saw in the prehistoric world. Therefore, he naturally guessed that they did not want to destroy Long Fei during this great change. What they want is to ban Long Fei and suppress him forever. Therefore, Long Fei must still be alive at this time. Qingying's face relaxed slightly, and there was a bit of luster in his eyes. In her opinion, as long as Long Fei is still alive, that is enough. As long as you are alive, you will return one day. However, I don't know what kind of situation he is in now. This world cannot give him much time. Judging from the current process of heaven and earth, it will take at most half a month for heaven and earth to change. If the situation is reversed, if he hasn't come back by then, he will never have a chance. Ying said. As he stayed here, he could feel the world changing every moment, and this change was confirming his guess step by step. When Qingying heard this, his face suddenly became sad again. "Can't you change too?" she asked. "There is only one supreme being. This is the common understanding of everyone in this universe. And Ying's cultivation has obviously already reached this point. The attitude of those people who came here before when facing Ying naturally illustrates this point. Ying is stronger than those people." Ying shook his head gently. "No one can change it. When the robbery comes, even the only state will die. Only Long Fei can change it." Ying said. "Jiechi, what do you mean?" Qingying asked again. An unprecedented horror. Ying looked heavy, but didn't say much. He knew Qingying's identity and didn't want to say too much to disturb her mind. The only thing he could do was to protect them on behalf of Long Fei. Qingying also felt the concealment in Ying's tone and wanted to ask something, but in the end she endured it. For them to say. Suddenly, Ying changed the subject and looked up into the void. 4 figures appeared quietly. In addition to the 3 people who came last time, there is another existence that he can recognize, Tiandao Hongjun. However, at this time, Hongjuan's aura actually reached the unique state. Ying's eyes narrowed. When Hongjun returned to Tiandao, Ying had already sensed the opponent's existence. Although his cultivation power was infinitely approaching the only realm, there was still a gap. But he didn't expect that now that he had withdrawn from the shackles of heaven, he would go one step further. "Your Excellency, stop struggling fearlessly. Our Lord said that there are still 3 days before the catastrophe will begin, and no one can change it. If you are willing to join us, you will be saved from death by then," Hongjun said. Ying glanced slightly. Becoming someone else's lackey in exchange for the only situation, is this what you want? Ying looked disdainful. Although Hongjun is already in the unique realm, he still doesn't give face. Hongjuan's expression changed. The word stooge deeply hurt him. "Your Excellency, you are just the only one, why do you speak so harshly? The only unchanging truth between heaven and earth is strength and weakness. Right and wrong are never the standard for measuring good or bad," Hongjun said. He once controlled the way of heaven and had seen the nature of too many rules. Whether it is human nature, demonic nature, or even divinity and demonic nature, what can influence these beings has always been based on their own strength and weakness, which remains unchanged from ancient times. Therefore, he doesn't think there is anything wrong with pursuing a higher power. What's more important is that he has seen the power and terror of that statue, and he understands it even more. That is, the world is about to be destroyed by darkness. Only by returning to darkness can we survive the catastrophe. We have different paths and we don't want to work together. Go away. Ying responded coldly. I don't want to say any unnecessary nonsense. Hongjuan's face darkened. Do you really think you are invincible? Even Long Fei is probably not qualified to be so arrogant in front of the four of us. Don't forget, you are only one person, but we are four. Hongjun said. Next to him were Tushan Xiaoya from Zhouwei, Yi Yorong, and Nua's obsession. Moreover, the four of them are in the only realm at this time. So what? Although the only state is difficult to kill, it is not immortal. Especially those of you who rely on some kind of power to reach this state, no matter how many are there, you are still a false one in front of me. Ying responded with a smile. The Emperor's domineering power was undoubtedly evident at this moment. Don't care at all. No matter how much there is nothing to be afraid of. Hongjuan's eyes darkened, and there was a hint of sternness. So, there is no more talk? Hongjun asked. This time they are making a final push. The catastrophe is about to come, and they are ordered to clear all obstacles. I just didn't expect that this was the first step and it would get stuck. Roll. The word Ying she is like gold. But as he said these words, a black dragon suddenly condensed in the void. The black dragon hovered in the void, with a ferocious body. Between vertical and horizontal, huge waves rolled up directly. Hongjun and others showed some caution in their eyes. Tushan Xiaoya's eyes were full of fighting spirit, and she looked at Hongjun. Since it is not his fault that he is like this, then kill him first. Didn't he also say that the only thing is that it is difficult to kill, but it is not immortal? Tushan Xiaoya originally wanted to fight Ying. Although she has lost a lot now and has forgotten the past, the warlike blood still exists in her body and her nature has not changed. No, just leave it to the master. But her proposal was rejected by Yi Yorong. Tushan Xiaoya frowned and looked at Yi Yorong with a bit of displeasure in his eyes. However, she didn't say anything more. Let's go. Yi Yorong said again, then turned and left. Hongjun and 3 others followed closely behind. Obviously, they all focus on Yi Yorong at this time. Several figures disappeared for a moment, but Ying's pupils suddenly sank. It's only 3 days. Chapter 5805. Chapter 5805. At this time, Chaoga. Ever since the sudden change of heaven and earth, the one who had the most difficult time was Di Xin. Although he controls the system, with the help of Da Hai, he now has the only combat power. But he knew he wasn't the only one. What the ***** is going on? The most miserable time travel in history. Did I come here to be killed? Di Xin looked indignant. Before, he faced Ying and fought with all his strength in exchange for peace. I thought that this would be the beginning of my journey through time, and I would be invincible in the heavens. But he didn't expect that within a few days of his happy life, the world would change. And this change is even more terrifying than the threat posed by Ying. He could feel it all the time, a dark force reversing the world and all living things. It seems to turn this world into a desert. This feeling is extremely painful. But he still couldn't resist. Your Majesty, countless people have died inexplicably and turned into dark creatures, wreaking havoc on the world. At this time, Wen Zhong came behind him and spoke. Di Xin's brows darkened, and a black line condensed on his head. It started again. It only stopped for 2 days and then it started again. Di Xin murmured, a surge of anger bursting out in his heart. Since the reversal of heaven and earth, almost every once in a while, human races will die out. But dying is not death. It seems to be changing into another kind of dark existence, and then destroying the world crazily. And as this power spreads, the world seems to have disappeared into nothingness for no reason. But now, when Wen Zhong appeared in front of him and told this news, he felt even more powerless. Your Majesty, according to this trend, in less than 3 days, our great Shang people will fall, and the power will break into Chaoga. When the time comes. Wen Zhong said softly. His face was also full of worry. If the time comes and they don't want me to live well, then I will let them die. The words were interrupted by Di Xin. Di Xin also had a look of anger on his face, and then turned around suddenly. The next moment, his figure soared into the sky. Visible to the naked eye, The moment Shin stood in the void, 9 golden dragons suddenly circled out and guarded him in the core. Under the imperial robe, he looked at the vast world with a stern look. If you don't let me live, then we will die together. Light the beacon of humanity, light it for me. Shin had infinite determination in his eyes. And as his voice fell, the 9 giant dragons hovering around him suddenly rose into the sky, entangled with each other, and turned into blazing flames under the naked eye. The next moment, his body suddenly grew in size, unparalleled in the world. At this moment, the entire prehistoric world could see his figure. I am the co-owner of the world and the lord of all life. No matter what kind of existence you are, if you want this world and want to mess with my people, I will not agree to it. Emperor Shin was extremely domineering, raging with rage against the sky. And his voice at this moment also spreads through the heaven and earth through power. And as his voice fell, the cluster of flames instantly rushed to the sky. Like a big sun hanging high in the sky, it wants to light up the world again. At this moment, countless creatures in the prehistoric world slowly raised their heads. His eyes were eager. Shin's words burned in their hearts like a ball of flame. The king hasn't given up yet. Your Majesty, this is a decisive battle with the sky. The king hasn't given up yet, so why should we give up? In the past few days, the world has been falling. Strange creatures are engulfed in darkness and are ravaging the world. Countless people are submerged in the darkness and become a part of the darkness. So that it is still alive, people live in fear day and night. But now, Shin's words have rekindled their hope. They looked at the flames hanging high in the sky, scorching like the sun, and their eyes once again became radiant. The heaven and earth are in catastrophe, but I am the only one who can lead humanity to eternal prosperity. My people, today I use the fire of my race to ignite this ruined world and illuminate this blood-stained mountains and rivers. I don't want to be the king of a subjugated country, nor do I want you to be the walking corpses sinking into darkness. So, fight. I will fight in person and use my fire of humanity to drive away the darkness of Kyushu. After all, Shin came from time travel and is the owner of the system. He naturally knows what to do to better stimulate people's hearts. Moreover, he cannot sit still and wait for death now. Under this trend, in a few days, the entire human race in the world will be enveloped by the power of darkness. If he wants to live, he can only fight war. 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 Countless voices resounded across the land of the human race, and as one united, the voices seemed to turn into firewood, invisibly surging into nothingness. And the human race fire that hangs high above the 9 heavens is getting stronger and stronger. Kill. Shin's voice spread to heaven and earth for the last time, and then his figure rose directly into the sky. It seems like he is really trying his best. Outside the prehistoric world, 3 figures wandered in the void. At this moment, they were looking at the primitive world below. Where did you find such a top-notch person? He has a good temper and is really good at it. Long Batian looked at Shin's actions with undisguised admiration in his eyes. If you knew his origin, you wouldn't be surprised. Dahai said leisurely. What? Is there any other origin? Long Batian asked. Dahai smiled faintly. Do you think I would be so frivolous in doing things? Can you just find someone to challenge Long Fei in the ring? Long Batian pondered slightly and shook his head. Every step of what Dahai does is carefully considered. Whether he or Long Fei is the mastermind behind everything, everything behind them has Dahai's shadow. It can be said that without the sea, they would not be able to get to where they are today. Then what is his origin? Long Batian asked. Dahai looked at the figure. He is Long Fei's son. Long Batian. If Long Fei were here, he would be shocked and even furious. Thinking that he actually asked Ying to attack Shin in the first place, wouldn't that mean that father and son would kill each other? You are so cruel. If something happens to him, aren't you afraid that Long Fei will fight you to the death? Long Batian was speechless. The Long family is all bald for you. Can't we just change the whole family to come to Huahua? No. I have confidence in Long Fei. Dahai said leisurely. Long Batian curled his lips. Do you really have confidence? But then, He turned his attention to Di Shin. Although I don't know what means Dahai used to bring him to this world, he is Long Fei's son after all. If an accident really happens, Long Fei will probably be in trouble. Don't worry, it's just using some means to let his soul pass through this world. Even if he dies, his soul will only be damaged. But if it succeeds, his cultivation will increase dramatically after his return. Dahai continued. Long Batian nodded, but do you think it's possible to succeed? Lighting up the sky with the fire of humanity can only last for 3 days at most. He only relies on the power of humanity to have the only combat power. What's the use? Dahai shook his head. Of course he can't do it alone, so now it's time for you to take action. You don't want Long Fei to clean up the world for you after he returns. Dahai looked at Long Batian with a half-smile. Chapter 5806. Chapter 5806. There was suddenly silence in the void. Long Batian frowned deeply and looked at the sea in disbelief. You mean to let me take action? Long Batian asked. Long Batian frowned, not because he was unwilling to take action, but because this was a battle with no chance of winning. Moreover, he knew that the enemy he had to face also had innumerable opportunities with Long Fei. If he takes action now, he will help Long Fei's son beat Long Fei's woman. If he didn't take action, he would just watch the Long Fei woman beat his son. Dilemma. Of course, if you take action, there is probably still hope. At least you can drag Long Fei out of the darkness. Dahai said. Long Batian was silent. You have to understand that Long Fei has now recovered his memory. His system is not reliable either. It is probably not there. He must have told Long Fei about it. Now Long Fei must also have doubts about his identity. No matter what choice he makes, he must still be resentful towards you. If you don't do something to make up for it now, you will be the first to be unlucky when he comes out of the darkness. Dahai Yundanfeng Qing looked at Long Batian with interest. Long Batian's face became even more gloomy. He looked at the sea. Did you plan it? Did you deliberately make Long Fei's identity so mysterious to inspire my competitive spirit? Long Batian asked. He increasingly suspected that there was Dahai's shadow behind this, and it was not impossible for Dahai to do such a thing according to his temper. The mastermind behind this eternal time drives everything and calculates everything. It's a big ocean to do such a thing. Dahai frowned. What do you think? Long Batian's face instantly tightened. When Dahai said these words, the answer was no longer important, it was self-evident. When he thought of this, Long Batian flicked his long sleeve, and his figure turned into a stream of light and rushed into the ancient world. And the next moment, Long Batian's figure disappeared. And as he took this step, became heavier. A dark nebula suddenly appeared in the vast galaxy. Then turned to look at Apocalypse behind him. It seemed as if there was an eye that flickered on and off. To play your role. The Lord of Whether Creation. Long Fei can come out alive or not depends entirely on you. Dahai shook his head gently. Suddenly raised his head. But I know what he knows. But when it comes to Long Fei, he won't have any hesitation. With a calm expression. Even if he is dead, if Long Fei were here, he would do what you do best. No matter when, the sea always killing people in the eternal world as if everything has nothing to do with him. Now, this time, will cause this catastrophe in the prehistoric world. What he was facing now was the master of the abyss of ending. Then give him a trigger to detonate the darkness without prehistoric world. But even so, the sea can still remain calm. The next moment in the nebula also followed Long Batian's figure. It seemed that he didn't expect and jumped directly into the ancient world. There would be people who dared to show off in front of him. The sea stands with its hands behind its back. Another voice came from among them. I don't care what kind of existence you are, whether you are the Lord of Creation or not. But you have to know that we are not enemies. Our enemy should be the Lord of Tribulation. In the nebula, the sound was quite heavy. Dahai shook his head slightly. But he is my person. Are you going to be an enemy if you say we are an enemy? But he is the source of all destruction. I can feel that he is about to come out of the end. Once he comes out, it will be the beginning of all disasters. The voice in Nebula was obviously angry, and it was obvious that he was affected by the sea. The indifferent attitude was irritating. It doesn't matter if you say it or not. Originally I had a good plan, but it will take some time. If I follow my plan, I can hide it from the outside and let him destroy his body. But because of your appearance, my plan was disrupted. Dahai said, his tone gradually becoming less friendly. In his plan, Long Fei has now forgotten his previous memories. He wanted to hide the truth and deceive Long Fei's unawakened memory with a false disaster. But now everything has changed. Because of the reversal of the abyss of ending, Long Fei was trapped in darkness, causing his plan to basically go bankrupt. He could naturally feel that Long Fei had recovered his memory now. And along with recovering that memory, naturally comes the recovery of strength. The power he thought was swallowed by a black hole. But in fact, only the sea can clearly, that is the power of robbery. The more Long Fei gets by using that power, the more likely it is that the dusty memories will be revived. It is precisely for this reason that Dahai does not have any favorable impression of the existence in this nebula at this time. Ha ha ha, plan? Are you actually plotting against the Lord of Tribulation? But in the nebula, he suddenly laughed. It's like the words of the sea are like a fool's dream. The sea remained unmoved and listened quietly. This is impossible to succeed. No one has ever been able to plot against a robber. You don't understand the terror of that kind of power, which is illogical and irresistible. Voices continued to come from the nebula, and they became even more angry. It is irresistible. So I came to you to negotiate a deal. If it succeeds, I will spare your life. As Dahai spoke, his tone suddenly became cold, and murderous intent broke out in him in an instant. Boom! In an instant, the nebula turned grey and lost any luster. There was even a muffled groan, as if with the words of the sea, the being inside was also seriously injured. After a moment of silence, the voice from the nebula came out again. What deal? He compromised. When Dahai showed his murderous intent, he seemed to sense the terror of Dahai, and naturally he no longer dared to be arrogant. It's very simple. Do what you are doing now and let the prehistoric world really become chaotic. And, someone must die, Dahai said. A cold light suddenly burst out of his eyes. Who? Who do you want to die? Those women will all die, Dahai said. At this time, in endless darkness, Long Fei no longer remained silent. He knew that if he wanted to get out of this endless dark space, he could only use that kind of power. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,